Chapter 1658. Do you think we want you to participate? Jian Yun rolled his eyes and continued. The first Mountain Lord, the sixth Mountain Lord, and the ninth Mountain Lord have all made it clear that they will not allow you to participate. However, the other six Mountain Lords all believe that since you have severely injured Zhou Tai, you should participate in the sect meeting. If you insist on going on, it might affect the harmony of the sect. Hence, they have no choice but to give in. Then, what reward do I get if I get first place? Jiangchen sat cross-legged and asked with interest. The sect will not give you anything. However, as long as you get first place in the sect gathering, it is said that you will be able to obtain the insights left behind by an immortal king. However, no one knows if it is true or not. Jian Yun revealed everything he knew. He is a disciple of your Kunlun Immortal Mountain, Jiangchen said with a smile. He is a disciple of the 8th mountain, not our first mountain. Jian Yun looked relaxed, but in reality, he was still somewhat dissatisfied. The inheritance of an immortal king. Jiangchen was somewhat disinterested. He was a disciple of the white-robed immortal king. In fact, the entire Heaven Secrets Pavilion was about to fall into his hands. If it was an ordinary immortal king, Jiangchen would not care about the insights unless this immortal king was stronger than by Xianling and Xianjun. Seems like you are not very satisfied with the reward. Looking at the expression on Jiangchen's face, Jian Yun had a strange expression. He didn't know what had happened to Jiangchen during this period. However, in the immortal realm, immortal kings were still rare existences. Even in a sect like the Kunlun Celestial Mountain, which was established in the immortal realm, other than Zhou Kunlun and the mysterious 10th Mountain Master, the other Mountain Masters were only immortal lords. If one was lucky enough to obtain the insights of an immortal king, it would be a gift from the heavens for a cultivator. It's all right. I'm not that dissatisfied. Jiangchen continued lying down. If he had the time to talk to Jian Yun, he might as well take a rest. You should take a rest first. Make use of the last day to recuperate your body. Almost everyone you're going to face is of the immortal cultivation state. Given your current situation, it's going to be pretty tough for you. After saying this sentence, Jian Yun left immediately. Bye. Jiangchen waved his hand. At this time, in another inn, several people from Black Heaven sect are resting here. The four of them sat together and discussed what they had just seen. At this moment, a person pushed open the door and walked in. The four of them immediately turned around and simultaneously circulated the immortal energy in their bodies. Their past experiences in participating in the great sect meetings told them that those who suddenly visited were definitely not good people. They were either here for revenge or to steal. Who is it? Sun Feng stared at the door. The person at the door was only a heavenly immortal, but he made him feel extremely pressured. Sun Feng, it's me. That person pushed the door open and flashed into the room. He was none other than Kuyu from Tianlang Mountain. Since Ku Sun joined the sect master of the Black Sect, he had become this person's puppet. Walking in the immortal realm with the cultivation of a celestial immortal could eliminate a lot of trouble, and he could also make the people around Jiangchen unable to perceive him. Sect leader? Looking at this unfamiliar person, Sun Feng hesitated for a while. However, when he felt the familiar fluctuation of immortal energy from Kuyu's body, he knew who this person was. It's me. Kuyu nodded. I will inject a wisp of soul source energy into this body. After a period of time, I will appear in front of you with this person's appearance. Sect leader, may I know why you are here in the middle of the night? After receiving a reply, Sun Feng directly knelt on the ground and asked in a trembling voice. The Black Cloud sect had been established for nearly 2,000 years. However, since he was a disciple of the sect, he had only heard of the sect leader's name, and had never had the chance to meet him personally. Even some of the orders from the Black Sect were sent to the Black Cloud sect by others. The three disciples behind him stood stiffly on the spot, unable to even speak. You met Jiangchen today, right? The sect master of the Black Sect sat on a stool at the door, and asked in a hoarse voice. Yes, we met him. The one who came here with him was Elder Jian Yun from the first mountain of Kunlun Mountain. Sun Feng nodded vigorously. Before they participated in the great sect meetings, they had already received orders from the Black Sect to secretly observe the people of Kunlun Mountain. Very good. What I want you to do is to try your best to kill him at the great sect meetings. If you can do it, I will allow you to go to the Black Sect to comprehend the secret methods of the sect. I will also personally guide your cultivation. The sect master of the Black Sect nodded with satisfaction. We will do our best. Sun Feng kowtowed heavily. They had never even dreamed of such an honor. Even the sect master Sun Lian didn't have this opportunity. As for receiving personal guidance from the great sect leader, that was an even more supreme gift. Although they had never seen it before, all the disciples of the Black Cloud sect knew that the great sect leader was in existence that was not weaker than the three great celestial kings. In fact, he was even stronger than the three of them. If you can't do it, there is no need for you to continue living in the immortal world. After saying this, the sect master of the Black Sect disappeared from the room, as if he had never appeared. A few minutes after he left, the four of them gradually calmed down and found that their clothes had been soaked in sweat in just a short while. Sun Feng let out a long breath. He didn't expect that Jiangqin, who only had the strength of a celestial immortal, would be worthy of the sect master's personal visit. However, he didn't need to think about these things. The only thing in his mind now was to kill Jiangqin. He was a celestial prime, and the three disciples he brought were all immortals. With this strength, even with the protection of Jian Yun, they could easily kill Jiangqin. Go out and keep an eye on the hostel where Jian Yun and Jiangqin are staying. Don't let them leave this place easily. If they manage to escape, I will take your lives. As Sun Feng thought of this, he turned around and ordered loudly. The three disciples didn't say anything and quickly ran out of the room. They all knew in their hearts that if they went to the Black Gate and received the personal guidance of the head elder, their status in the Black Cloud sect would rise accordingly. In the future, even the head elder Sun Lian would have to look up to them. In the sect, there would be no one to guide them. Ha! Watching them leave, Sun Feng laughed wildly. It was as if he had already seen that with the guidance of the sect master, he would become an immortal monarch expert, and then suppress Sun Lian to become the new sect master of the Black Cloud sect. And he also knew that since Jiangqin could make the sect master come here personally, he must be a thorn in the side of the sect master. When he fought with Sun Lian, the sect master would definitely stand on his side. Chapter 1659. The next day. After a night and a morning of rest, Jiangqin left the inn energetically with Jian Yun. As soon as the two of them walked out of the inn, two young men in black immediately followed them. These two were none other than the disciples of the Black Cloud sect. After receiving Sun Feng's order yesterday, they had been guarding here. Someone is following us. Jian Yun took 2 steps forward and felt that something was wrong, but he did not stop. Instead, he whispered to Jiangqin. Little Jian, I'll leave it to you. There shouldn't be a problem, right? Jiangqin grinned. I'm an elder of the First Mountain. You'd better call me Elder Jian at the sect meeting. Jian Yun's face darkened. It was one thing to call him that in Kunlun Mountain, but calling him that when they came out would be a disgrace. Okay, Elder Jian. Jiangqin did not refute. They are disciples of the Black Cloud sect. We can't kill them like this. Jian Yun puffed out his chest and raised his head. It was not easy to get Jiangqin's approval. Okay, but they'd better not provoke me. Otherwise, they won't be able to leave here alive. Jiangqin knew that Jian Yun's purpose here was not only to take him to the sect meeting, but also to take the opportunity to inquire about the situation of the Black Cloud sect, so he took a step back. In the center of the town, Jiangqin and Jian Yun arrived here. This was the place where the sect meeting was held. All the participating sects needed to bring their disciples here to report. The person in charge of the sect meeting was the famous Heaven and Earth Pharmacy in the eastern part of the northern region. This was a sect in the immortal realm that had almost the same history as Kunlun Mountain. Although there was only one immortal king and 6 immortal dukes in the sect, because their alchemy skills were second to none in the entire northern region and even the immortal realm, they naturally had a very high status. Other sects did not dare to provoke them at all. With their appeal, the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy was not afraid of any sect. After all, with the support of elixirs, as long as they waved their arms, many sects would come to curry favor with them. The heavy responsibility of organizing the sect meeting naturally fell on the shoulders of the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy. After listening to Jian Yun's introduction, Jiangchen touched the white jade bottle in his sleeve and asked curiously, "Between the spring flower powder that you gave me yesterday and the medicine from Heaven and Earth Pharmacy, which one is more effective?" This? Jian Yun's mouth was tightly shut, as though it was a taboo for him to speak of. "What? Didn't you say that the spring flower powder is a secret recipe unique to your first mountain? Could it be that it's not as good as the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy?" Jiangchen sneered. "Actually, it's not that. If you want to know, I can tell you. This spring flower powder is one of the more top secret formulas in the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy." Jian Yun's face was strange as he said in a low voice, afraid that a third person would hear it. "It seems that our Kunlun Celestial Mountain has a good relationship with the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy." Jiangchen raised his eyebrows. If that was the case, then it was necessary to establish a good relationship with the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy. At that time, it would be easy to obtain some pills or prescriptions. The relationship between the Kunlun Celestial Mountain and the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy is very tense. Jian Yun shook his head. Then did they become stupid from refining pills? This time, Jiangchen was confused. If the relationship wasn't good, how could they give the top secret formulas to their opponents? "It's the work of your father, the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Lord. A long time ago, he sneaked into the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy as a disciple and stole the spring flower powder and some other prescriptions. Therefore, the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy issued a bounty to hunt down your father, but in the end, there was no result. Later on, your father gave the prescription of the spring flower powder to the first mountain lord." Seeing that Jiangchen was determined to find out the truth, Jian Yun could only tell the truth. After the bounty failed, the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy spent a lot of effort to find out that the person who stole the prescription was actually the sect master of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect. Later on, the three immortal kings joined forces to deal with the 10,000 Mounts. When they found out that the 10,000 Mounts Immortal sect was suppressed in the Kunlun Immortal Mountain, it was said that the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy celebrated for half a month. All the pills and herbs were sold at half price for half a year. However, this matter couldn't be hidden. Not long after, the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy found out that the Kunlun Immortal Mountain had the spring flower powder. See, Jiangchen sucked in a breath of cold air. Then he felt helpless. He didn't expect his father to do what he wanted to do back then. So, when you meet the people of the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy later, you better be honest. However, it's very likely that they already know that you are the son of the 10,000 Mounts. But with the Kunlun Immortal Mountain, they won't dare to make things difficult for you. After Jian Yun told the truth, he felt a little more relaxed. In this way, Jiangchen would be able to make the best preparations in advance. Otherwise, if anything unexpected happened, Jiangchen would probably do something extreme. Although this kid was only in the third stage of the Heaven Immortal realm, Jian Yun knew that once he was angry, even an immortal supremacy wouldn't be able to stop him. "I'm afraid the 8th Mountain Lord and the others want me to take Shou Tai's place to participate in the sect meeting because of this reason, right?" Jiangchen sneered, and his heart gradually became clear. "Don't make wild guesses about the Mountain Lord." Jian Yun frowned slightly. I know. Jiangchen waved his hand and strode forward. Jian Yun sighed and followed helplessly. He knew that Jiangchen was right. The 8th Mountain Lord probably insisted on letting Jiangchen participate in the sect meeting because he was the son of the 10,000 Mounts Immortal Mountain. He wanted to use the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy and the other sects to take revenge. However, he couldn't speak carelessly. Jian Yun hurriedly followed, afraid that Jiangchen would have a conflict with the people of the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy. After walking for a short distance, they saw the signboard of the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy. At this time, many people had gathered in front of them, but it wasn't chaotic. There was a considerable distance between each sect. There were even a few sects at the corner with swords drawn. If it weren't for the people of the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy, they would have already attacked. Let's go, I'll bring you to report. Jian Yun was worried about Jiang Qin, so he simply pulled his arm and walked forward. When they passed by, many people looked over. The news in the inn yesterday had already spread. The disciples sent by the overseas Immortal Mountain were only in the third stage of the Heaven Immortal Realm. If they didn't see Jian Yun, they would have thought that it was a small sect that pretended to be from the overseas Immortal Mountain. Elder Ji, the disciple of the overseas Immortal Mountain's ninth mountain, Jiang Qin, is participating in the competition. Jian Yun walked to the front, stood in front of a long table, and said to an old man in a linen robe, "Oh? It seems that the rumors are true. Your Kunlun Immortal Mountain actually sent a disciple who is only a heaven immortal to participate in the competition." The old man in the linen robe didn't even raise his head. He held a pen and was ready to write down Jiang Chen's name. Chapter 1660. But before the pen touched the paper, his body suddenly shook and he raised his head. He stared at Jiang Chen and found that this person looked similar to Wan Qing. He also remembered that according to the information reported by the Pharmacy Intelligence Sect, there seemed to be a person who had just descended from the lower world. He said that he was the son of Wan Qing, the young master of Wan Qing Immortal Sect. "You're Jiang Chen?" The old man took a deep breath and the kindness on his face disappeared. "That's right. I'm Jiang Chen from Kunlun Immortal Sect." Jiang Chen nodded and cupped his hands to show respect to the old man. "Kid, I'll ask you something. You have to answer me honestly." The old man put down the pen and looked at Jiang Chen. "What's your relationship with Wan Cheng from Wan Cheng Immortal Sect?" "He's my father and I'm his son." Jiang Chen shrugged. In any case, when they were in Immortal Ancient Doubt City, Bai Xiaoyun had already revealed his identity. Based on Jian Yun's words, they should have already found out about the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy. "Very good. Elder Jian Yun, you know the past of our pharmacy. Now you've brought Wan Cheng's son to the competition." The old man sneered. "Come back with me to see the great elder. I can't make the decision and can't sign you up. Elder Song, do you want to attack the disciples of Kunlun Immortal Sect?" Jian Yun clenched his fists in his sleeves and asked in a deep voice. "Elder Jian Yun, you know the relationship between our pharmacy and Wan Cheng, and he's Wan Cheng's son. Please don't make things difficult for me and don't let the relationship between our pharmacy and Kunlun Immortal Sect worsen." The old man frowned and all the wrinkles on his face gathered together. Looking at the sects who were watching the show, Jian Yun could only give in. "Elder Song, we can go with you. However, please remember that Jiang Qin is not only a disciple of the ninth mountain of the Kunlun Immortal Mountain, he is also the pavilion master of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion. He is even the alliance master of the Overseas Immortal Mountain Alliance. If you dare to hurt him, I'm afraid you will bring trouble to your Heaven and Earth Pharmacy." Jian Yun loosened his clenched fists and said in a threatening tone, "You should tell that to the First Elder. It's useless to say it to me. Besides, apart from the three immortal kings, no one in the immortal world can threaten our Heaven and Earth Pharmacy." Elder Song suddenly stood up and walked towards the back. Upon witnessing this, Jiang Chen and Jian Yun followed him. However, compared to Jian Yun, Jiang Chen was much more relaxed. Bai Xianling had already shown his face earlier. If he were to encounter any danger here, he would definitely come to help. Moreover, no matter how powerful the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy was, it would not be as powerful as Bai Xianling. This was what Elder Song had said earlier. Under everyone's gaze, the three of them arrived at a large church in the middle of the town. "First Elder, look who this is." Elder Song walked straight in and asked First Elder Lin Baichao, who was sitting in the main seat. This person was an immortal monarch. It was said that he was only half a step away from becoming an immortal king. As for those sub-immortal kings, they were like weak chickens in front of him. "Oh?" Lin Baichao raised his head. "So it's Elder Jian Yun from the Kunlun Celestial Mountain. It's been a long time." When he saw Jian Yun, Lin Baichao stood up with a smile. He walked towards Jian Yun and stretched out his hand. First Elder Lin. Jian Yun's face twitched as he smiled awkwardly. First Elder, this kid is Wan Cheng's son. Elder Song whispered. What? As soon as these words came out, the smile on Lin Baicao's face disappeared completely. Then, he narrowed his eyes and sized up Jiangchen. You're Wan Cheng's son? Greetings, Grand Elder Lin. I am Jiangchen. Facing such a powerful immortal monarch, Jiangchen still had to be respectful. After all, he was a disciple of the Kunlun Celestial Mountain. He couldn't bring trouble to the sect. All of you can leave. I have something to say to him, Lin Baichao said after pondering for a while. Please, Elder Jian Yun. Elder Song stretched out his hand to Jian Yun. Jian Yun didn't say anything and followed him out of the church. However, as he walked out, he kept looking back at Jiangchen. Even though Jiangchen didn't respect him at all, he didn't want to see such a talented disciple fall into the hands of the heaven and earth pharmacy. After they left, Lin Baichao sat back down in his previous seat. You ascended from the lower realm, right? I've heard some things about you. You dared to barge into the immortal emperor's tomb with a mere true immortal cultivation. You're really a brave junior, Lin Baichao said after a while. First Elder Lin, if you really want to attack me, then don't say such useless words. Jiangchen interrupted him. Haha, I'm an immortal monarch, and you're a heaven immortal. If I attack you, wouldn't I be violating the agreement between the two realms and the 1,000-year promise? Hearing this, the first elder laughed. Then what do you want? Jiangchen's mouth twitched. Little friend Jiangchen, please accept this old man's bow. Lin Baichao quickly came down and bowed to Jiangchen. He cupped his hands and bowed to Jiangchen. Ah? Jiangchen was shocked. Little friend, you got the recognition of the immortal emperor in the immortal emperor's tomb and got the thing he gave you, right? Lin Baichao straightened up and looked at Jiangchen excitedly. How did you know? Jiangchen took a step back. He only told Bai Xiaoyun about the situation in the immortal emperor's tomb, but the old man in front of him knew. Could it be that he was spying on him? Don't be afraid, follow me into the secret room. Lin Baichao smiled gently. With a wave of his hand, a hidden door in the church was opened, and a faint medicinal fragrance floated out. Jiangchen was a little confused, but he was driven by curiosity, and followed in. Inside, Lin Baichao closed the door. Little friend, our heaven and earth pharmacy is actually the pharmacy of the Qianji sect. When the sect was in trouble, the Qianji emperor knew the situation in advance and escorted our pharmacy out, and hid it from the sight of the Black Sky Emperor. Lin Baichao took a deep breath and slowly explained the situation. I don't believe it. Jiangchen shook his head. No one would believe such words if they were to hear it. It's true. I don't need to lie to you, a heaven immortal. If I lie, how would I know what happened to you in the immortal emperor's tomb? Lin Baichao smiled and shook his head. Then how do you know? Jiangchen was still very curious about this point. In a secret room of our heaven and earth pharmacy, there is a stone tablet left by the Qianji emperor. He instilled a strand of immortal power in it. We can sense the immortal emperor's tomb. If anyone gets the recognition of the Qianji emperor and gets the treasure he left behind, the stone tablet will show it. Lin Baichao said without reservation. Chapter 1661. Are you serious? Jiangchen had been observing his expression, but he did not find any flaws. It could be said that his words could still be trusted. Of course. Lin Baichao raised his hand and pointed upwards. I swear on my cultivation base that if I tell you a lie, then I will never be reincarnated. He enunciated each word clearly. I believe you. Jiangchen felt that with his status and strength, there was no need for him to lie. Moreover, in the tomb of the immortal emperor, he had received the recognition of the immortal emperor and obtained the item. At the very least, other than himself and Bai Xiaoyun, no one else knew about the wooden token. Just this point alone was enough to prove it. After thousands of years, we have finally waited for the immortal emperor's successor. Our Tianji sect has hope of revitalizing. After Jiangchen agreed, Lin Baichao suddenly became emotional. He knelt on the ground and shouted loudly. At the same time, tears flowed out of his eyes and his whole body was trembling nonstop. Wait! What did you say? The successor of the immortal emperor? Revitalize your Tianji sect? Jiangchen shuddered, as if a heavy burden had suddenly been placed on his shoulders. He was caught unprepared, and he even wanted to leave this place immediately. Yes, didn't the immortal emperor's remnant consciousness tell you? Lin Baichao was surprised. He didn't tell me anything. Jiangchen shook his head. You have received the recognition of the immortal emperor, and obtained the immortal emperor's treasure. Our heaven and earth pharmacy will completely obey you and help you grow. Let our Tianji sect reappear in the immortal world one day and restore our former glory. Lin Baichao's voice was emotional. After thousands of years, he had finally waited for this day. Can I not? Jiangchen bitterly smiled and felt helpless. Of course not, little friend Jiangchen. Please allow me to call you young master. Lin Baichao looked deeply at Jiangchen. His pair of turbid eyes were full of light, as if seeing Jiangchen was like seeing a holy light. Please don't. I don't dare. Jiangchen waved his hand repeatedly. I know that you are a disciple of the Kunlun Immortal Mountain, the Pavilion Lord of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion, and also the Alliance leader of the Overseas Immortal Mountain Alliance. Adding on the fact that you are the young master of the Tianji sect, you might feel a little pressured, but our Heaven and Earth Pharmacy will do our best to help you. Lin Baichao was afraid that Jiangchen would refuse. Elder Lin, to tell you the truth, I have no interest in Tianji sect. You should find someone else for this young master. Jiangchen prepared to slip away. If he continued to speak like this, who knew if the old man would fly into a rage out of humiliation and force him to do so? Alas! Seeing that Jiangchen had made up his mind to leave, Lin Baichao sighed heavily as if he had lost all his strength. His whole body went limp as he sat on the ground. Thousands of years, only met such a younger generation recognized by the immortal emperor, but this person has no intention of inheriting the Tianji zone. If he waited any longer, he didn't know how long he would have to wait for the next one. Looking at Jiangchen's back as he left, Lin Baichao wished that he could just kill himself by hitting the pillar next to him. However, just as Jiangchen was about to walk out of the door, he opened his mouth. Little friend Jiangchen, I see that you have injuries in your body. Our Heaven and Earth Pharmacy has top-grade pills. Why don't we give you some as a gift for our first meeting? I hope that you will consider it carefully when you go back. Our Heaven and Earth Pharmacy will always be open to you. Lin Baichao felt as if a huge rock was blocking his chest, making it difficult for him to breathe. And Jiangchen's foot that was about to step out stopped. Just now, he didn't want to cause trouble for himself, nor did he want to become the young master of the Tianji sect. However, he neglected one thing, and that was that Jianyun said that this Heaven and Earth Pharmacy was one of the top Medicine King's sects in the northern region and even the entire immortal world. This was much richer than the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion. If he really became the young master of the Tianji sect, then in the future wouldn't. Grand Elder Lin, I've given it some thought. I'd better live up to your expectations. Besides, I've got a lot of good stuff from the Immortal Emperor. Wouldn't it be heartless of me to turn you down just like that? Jiangchen cleared his throat and turned around calmly. He spoke in a righteous tone. Young master. Lin Baichao was so excited that tears came out. What kind of breadth of mind was this? What kind of bearing was this? With such a righteous young master, their Tianji sect would not worry about not being able to recover its glory. Thinking about it, Lin Baichao wiped his tears, stood up from the ground, and looked at Jiangchen with a smile. Young master, I'm not heartless. Everyone has their own thoughts. I just didn't expect you to be so outstanding. Our Heaven and Earth Pharmacy will definitely follow you in the future. Lin Baichao held Jiangchen's hand and said in a deep voice. Okay, I will work hard. It's just that I still have my own things to do. I may not be able to go on the road of revitalizing the Tianji sect for a while. Jiangchen was blushed by his words. No problem, we have waited for thousands of years. Waiting for a few hundred years is not a problem. Lin Baichao did not care about such a small matter. As long as Jiang Chun agreed, it was better than anything. That elixir. Jiang Chun grinned. Here, here. Lin Baichao hurriedly touched and then took out a black bottle. This is oh no, our heaven and earth pharmacy's best Dan. As long as you have a breath, you can recover to your peak state. However, you can only take it once a year. Otherwise, you will be backfired. After that, he took out another small bottle and handed it to Jiang Chun. The medicine inside can cure your current condition. Thank you, Great Elder Lin. Jiang Chun quickly thanked him. If young master wants, you can call me Little Lin. Lin Baichao was flattered. I'd better not. Jiang Chun felt a chill run down his spine. Young master, since you are a disciple of the Kunlun sect, then the conflict between our two sects will no longer exist. Lin Baichao rubbed his hands excitedly. Great Elder Lin, please don't tell anyone about our relationship. Jiang Chun directly put the 2 bottles of Dan into his storage ring. No problem, I will definitely not say anything. Lin Baichao promised. Then let's register first and participate in the sect meeting. Jiang Chun did not want to say anything. Lin Baichao's enthusiasm and heartfelt sincerity made him feel sorry for the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy. His father had stolen their spring flower powder. Who would have thought that he would actually take over their sect and even be above them? Okay, register. Lin Baichao hurriedly registered Jiang Chen's name. After leaving the main hall, Jiang Chen let out a long breath. Seeing Jiang Chen come out, Jian Yun hurriedly ran over. He carefully looked at him, and then asked, Jiang Chen, did Lin Baichao make things difficult for you? Chapter 1662. Nope. Jiang Chen shook his head. That's good. There's no need for you to bear the consequences of your father's mistake. Jian Yun heaved a sigh of relief. At least Lin Baichao is reasonable. If you didn't come out later, I would have reported your situation to the 1st and 9th Mountain Lords. No need, no need. Jiang Chen walked down the stairs. Seeing that the people from the other sects were still staring at him, Jiang Chen ignored them. After registering, Jiang Chen went back to the hostel. After eating the elixir given by Lin Baichao, he immediately felt his weak body and lack of immortal power being replenished. He even felt his cultivation base loosening a little. He could vaguely feel that he could touch the 4th level of the Heaven Immortal Realm. After noon, the sun shone brightly. An arena had been set up in the open space in front of the church. Many people from the other sects were already waiting for the competition to begin. Inside the church, Lin Baichao was carefully inspecting the participating disciples. He had adjusted Jiang Chen's opponents to the weakest ones. After selecting them, it seemed that everyone's strength was slightly higher. In the sect meeting, although killing was not allowed, it was allowed to severely injure the opponent. Lin Baichao did not want Jiang Chen to face such danger. Therefore, an idea appeared in his mind. Soon, when all the people from the other sects had gathered, Elder Song, as the representative of the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy, announced a name list in front of everyone. Lin Baichao sat in the church with the door open and looked at the situation outside. Not bad. The ones you've met are the weakest ones. Jian Yun was a little happy. You don't have to get a good ranking. As long as you don't get injured, it'll be good enough to shut the mouths of the 8th Mountain Lord and the others. Jiang Chen nodded in response. In his heart, he knew that this should be Lin Baichao's arrangement. The sect meeting began. The first 2 disciples to fight went up the arena and engaged in an intense battle. The battle between Immortal Realm cultivators was enough to destroy the entire town. However, Lin Baichao had set up a barrier around the arena. Even if the sky and earth darkened, there would not be any immortal power fluctuations coming out. About 2 hours later, it was time for Jiang Chen to go on stage. Jiang Chen's opponent was someone who had just stepped into the divine immortal realm. The moment this person stepped onto the stage, he had a look of disdain on his face. A level 3 Heaven Immortal kid was definitely not his match. Why don't you take the initiative to admit defeat? If I win against you, it won't be an honorable victory. Moreover, I won't be able to control my strength and might even kill you." That person clenched his fist and sneered. Jiang Chen didn't say anything. With his current strength, taking care of a cultivator who had just stepped into the immortal realm was not a problem at all. When Jiang Chen had manipulated his genuine qi and was about to launch an attack first, a beam of immortal power suddenly shot out of his back. It penetrated the man's chest directly. After penetrating his body, it hit the ward directly. Puchi! That person spat out a mouthful of blood. He clutched his chest and knelt on the ground. He looked at Jiang Chen with a horrified expression. Just now, Jiang Chen's attack was too fast. He didn't see it clearly and didn't have the chance to block it. Wow! Seeing the situation inside the barrier, almost all the people from the sects were in an uproar. They originally thought that it would be an overwhelming victory against Jiang Chen. Even if Jiang Chen had some tricks up his sleeve, he could only hold on for a while at most. After all, there was still a huge gap between the divine immortal realm and the heaven immortal realm. However, they didn't expect that it would be Jiang Chen's overwhelming victory. Jiang Chen's hands froze in midair. The sudden situation just now gave him a fright. But soon, Jiang Chen came to his senses. This attack should be secretly made by the people in the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy to help him win. You've lost. Go down. Even so, Jiang Chen didn't show any abnormality. He waved his hand at him and said indifferently, "Only a fool would refuse to get first place without doing anything. You're so despicable." That person glanced at Jiang Chen, but there was nothing he could do. He could only curse inwardly, clutching his chest, and quickly left the barrier. In the church, Lin Baichao retracted his finger. With his cultivation at the pinnacle of the heavenly high immortal realm, he was more than capable of harming others without anyone noticing. "You've recovered your strength?" Seeing Jiang Chen come out of the barrier, Jian Yun asked excitedly. After all, when he saw Jiang Chen defeating Zhou Tai in the main hall of the first mountain, he thought that there would be no problem for him to defeat a cultivator who had just advanced to the immortal realm. "Yes, but this person underestimated his opponent too much." Jiang Chen nodded and didn't reveal anything. "Not bad." Jian Yun gave him a thumbs up. After resting for a while, he watched the others fight. In the afternoon, Jiang Chen went up to the arena 4 times, and every time, he defeated his opponent almost instantly. Even if these people were prepared, they couldn't resist at all. In the midst of the shock, some people began to inquire about Jiang Chen's identity. When they found out that Jiang Chen was the pavilion master of the Divine Secret Pavilion and the alliance leader of the Overseas Immortal Mountain Alliance, they were somewhat relieved. With such an identity, even if he was only at the 3rd level of the Heaven Immortal Realm, it was understandable that he could defeat someone who was 1 level above him. After dark, Jiang Chen and Jian Yun returned to the inn. The 4 people from the Black Cloud sect who had watched for a day immediately went back and began to discuss countermeasures. "This Jiang Chen's strength is somewhat beyond my expectations. With your strength, you're no match for him. It seems that we can only wait for an opportunity. When he's alone, I'll take care of him." Sun Feng turned around and closed the door tightly. "Elder son, Jiang Chen is protected by Jian Yun. He's the elder of the first mountain of the Kunlun Immortal Mountain. His strength is not inferior to yours." A disciple who looked relatively stupid said. "Slap!" Sun Feng slapped him directly on the head. "Don't you understand what I said? I said wait for him to be alone. Do you know what that means?" Hiss! That person sucked in a breath of cold air. This slap almost killed him. "The 3 of you remember, use your best skills to fight in the arena. As long as you keep winning, you'll meet Jiang Chen sooner or later. When the time comes, open this thing." Rubbing his somewhat numb hand, Sun Feng took out a finger-sized wooden box from his robe. "Bloodthirsty bug." Opening the box, the 3 disciples saw what was inside. "That's right. As long as the bloodthirsty bug is attached to Jiang Chen, his mind will be affected. As for how to separate him from Jian Yun, we'll talk about it when the time comes." Sun Feng did not dare to say too much. In the territory of the heaven and earth pharmacy, if they were heard, they would be finished. Understood, Elder Sunday. The three of them nodded heavily. One of them kept the wooden box. Sun Feng repeated it again before leaving. Chapter 1663. The second day, the third day, for 2 days in a row, Jiang Qin defeated his opponents in an instant. There was only one battle when Jiang Qin faced a disciple of the 7th level of the Heaven Immortal Realm. Lin Baichao didn't make a move, so Jiang Qin defeated his opponent easily. The people of the other sects gradually understood. Why did the Kunlun Immortal Mountain send a disciple of the 3rd level of the Heaven Immortal Realm? His cultivation seemed to be low, but his combat strength was not weak. Those immortals couldn't even withstand 2 moves from Jiang Qin before they were defeated. In these 2 days, several disciples of the Black Cloud sect were also desperately fighting their way up, but in the end, only one person was left, and Sun Feng had been observing all along. However, while the Black Cloud sect was observing Jiang Qin, Jian Yun was observing them. The evening of the 3rd day, there were only 4 people left who participated in the great sect meeting. Jiang Qin, Qian Shou of the Black Cloud sect, Yun Zhaotian of the Cloud sect, and Zhao Shi of the Sun sect. Among the 3, except for Zhao Shi, the other 2 wanted to kill Jiang Qin. One wanted to kill Jiang Qin and get the reward of the Black Sect Master. The other wanted to avenge the disciples of the sect. Previously, many of his junior brothers were ruthlessly tricked by Jiang Qin in the casino. These 4 will fight tomorrow. The winner will not only get the enlightenment of the Immortal King, but also a foundation establishment pill from our heaven and earth pharmacy. Standing at the door of the church, Lin Baichao looked around and said loudly. Many people clenched their fists in excitement. What was the foundation establishment pill? It was a pill that cost hundreds of millions of immortal jades in the heaven and earth pharmacy. Whether it was by chance or taking pills to increase one's strength, one's cultivation would never be stable. It would be superficial and unstable. And the foundation establishment pill could improve this situation. In other words, as long as the sect had enough pills to increase one's cultivation, they could cultivate a real expert of the immortal venerable, or even the early stage of the immortal monarch realm in a short time. After looking around, Lin Baichao set his eyes on Jiang Qin. In the past, the heaven and earth pharmacy was known as a miser. Although it had been holding the sect assembly for thousands of years, it had never given out any rewards. What it gave out was only the Immortal King's insights that had been passed down since ancient times. This time, Lin Baichao took out the foundation establishment pill for Jiang Qin. He believed that Jiang Qin must have encountered a fortuitous encounter for him to be able to advance from an immortal to a celestial immortal in such a short period of time after he ascended to the immortal world. Therefore, he was worried that Jiang Qin's foundation would be unstable due to his rapid advancement in cultivation. Once he did not have a good foundation, not only would it be difficult for him to advance in his cultivation in the future, he would not be able to step into the threshold of an immortal venerable and might even suffer from qi deviation. Strange, why is this miser plucking his feathers? Jian Yun had participated in this event dozens of times before. When he heard Lin Baichao's words, he stroked his beard and asked in surprise. Maybe he woke up at the last moment, Jiang Qin said casually. This elixir isn't cheap. If you can win the championship and take it back to the Kunlun Celestial Mountain, it will definitely shut the mouths of the other lords, Jian Yun said earnestly. At the same time, he gave Jiang Qin a meaningful look. He had high hopes for him. I will definitely get it. Jiang Qin nodded heavily. Jian Yun patted Jiang Qin's shoulder with satisfaction. However, he did not know what Jiang Qin was thinking. If it had been before, Jiang Qin wouldn't have been interested in this elixir, but things were different now. The Universe Pharmacy was his subordinate alchemist school, and he was their young master. Lin Baichao had told him in person that he could provide him with all the elixirs he needed. If these pills were to be given to others, Jiang Qin felt that his heart was about to bleed. Everyone, go back and prepare! After looking at Jiang Qin for a while, Lin Baichao whispered a few words to an elder beside him. Then, he turned around and returned to the church. When Jian Yun and Jiang Chen were about to go back, the elder ran over in a hurry. Elder Jian Yun, Great Elder Lin invites you and Jiang Chen to the church for a talk. The elder cupped his hands at Jian Yun and did not look at Jiang Chen. Talk? Jian Yun frowned slightly. Yes, Great Elder Lin said that there are some misunderstandings between the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy and Kunlun Immortal Mountain. It's better to resolve it as soon as possible. The elder nodded and said all the words that Lin Baichao had taught him. Did you feed him medicine the last time you saw him? Jian Yun was confused. No. Jiang Chen shrugged. Jian Yun thought for a while and still led Jiang Chen into the church. After all, this was the territory of the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy. He had to give Lin Baichao some face. He also believed that Lin Baichao would not attack him and Jiang Chen rashly. In the church, Lin Baichao stood with his hands behind his back. May I know why Great Elder Lin has called us here? Jian Yun walked in front of Jiang Chen cautiously. His strength was much weaker than Lin Baichao, but if the former really dared to attack, he would protect Jiang Chen with his life. Haha, Elder Jian Yun, don't be nervous. I have something to give you. As he spoke, Lin Baichao took out a piece of yellow paper from his sleeve and handed it to Jian Yun. Spring flower powder? Jian Yun took it. When he opened it and saw the words on it, he was shocked. This was the reason why Kunlun's sect and the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy had a grudge against each other. Now that Lin Baichao took the initiative to give it to him, he did not know what this meant. That's right. After all these years of improvement, the effect of the spring flower powder has been enhanced. So I'm giving you a new one. As for the previous one, you can throw it away. Lin Baichao said happily. Great Elder Lin, if you have something to say, just say it. There's no need to beat around the bush. The more enthusiastic Lin Baichao was, the more Jian Yun felt that something was wrong. He even thought that there might be an assassin in the church. I've said what I wanted to say. I hope that Jiang Chen can get a good ranking tomorrow. Lin Baichao did not continue speaking. His figure flashed and disappeared. Holding the spring flower powder formula, Jian Yun was stunned. He did not know what Lin Baichao was up to. Since he's giving it to us, let's take it. Jian Yun was confused, but Jiang Chen was clear-headed. He knew that Lin Baichao was doing this to please him. Back at the inn, Jian Yun carefully kept the formula of the spring flower powder. At the same time, he told Jiang Chen all the news about the Black Cloud sect that he had heard in the past 2 to 3 days. At the same time, the 4 people of the Black Cloud sect were discussing how to deal with Jiang Chen. Tomorrow was the last day of the sect meeting. It was also their only chance. If they missed it, when Jiang Chen returned to the Kunlun sect, there would be no other way. Is everything ready? Sun Feng looked at Qian Shou and asked in a deep voice. Chapter 1664. I'm ready. When we fight tomorrow, I'll find the right opportunity to release the bloodthirsty bugs. Qian Shou nodded vigorously. He had been observing Jiang Chen for the past few days. He found that although Jiang Chen's attacks were very fierce and almost defeated his opponents in one blow, those people had just advanced to the divine immortal realm. Moreover, Jiang Chen's fluctuation was still only at the 3rd heaven immortal realm. Therefore, as a 6th heaven immortal, he was confident that he could defeat Jiang Chen and subdue Jiang Chen. Good! I'll get the first credit for defeating Jiang Chen. You'll get the 2nd credit. If I have the chance to see the sect master in the future, I'll certainly put in a few good words for you. At that time, you'll be the youngest elder in our Black Cloud sect. Sun Xing was excited as if he had already won. He grabbed Qian Shou's hand. Thank you, Elder Sun! Qian Shou knelt on the ground and kowtowed to him. Although the other 2 disciples were envious, they were too weak to have the chance to fight Jiang Chen. Although they couldn't get Sun Feng's help, as long as Jiang Chen died here, they would also have the opportunity to enter the Black Sect and receive personal guidance from the sect master. The next day, at dawn, many people had gathered in the middle of the town. Of course, most of them lived here and came to watch the fun. Almost all the eliminated sects had left. Yun Zhaotian, As long as you seriously injure Jiang Chen, I'll provide you with the resources to advance to the immortal venerable realm. A punishment elder of Yun sect said to a young man in white beside him. Seventh uncle, Jiang Chen is a disciple of Kunlun Immortal Mountain. Last time, the 9 lords of Kunlun Immortal Mountain were not afraid of immortal King Xianjun in order to protect him. If I really hurt him, won't I get into trouble again? Yun Zhaotian had been thinking for the whole night, but he still felt that something was wrong. The sect assembly has always been a place where fists and feet have no eyes. As long as his life is not harmed, the Kunlun Immortal Mountain will not say anything. Moreover, even if they are not afraid of the immortal King Xianjun, they still have to give him face at the very least. The punishment elder coldly snorted. In the past, with the help of immortal King Xianjun's reputation, even though the Cloud sect was not strong and only had 1 immortal king and 3 quasi-immortal kings, no one in the northern region or even the immortal world dared to provoke them. But now, a mere kid at the 3rd level of the heaven immortal realm dared to ride on their necks and shit on them. To the Cloud sect, this was an unprecedented humiliation. I will do my best, said the elder of punishments. Yun Zhetian suddenly understood. Zhetian, you have to seize this opportunity. You know the current situation in the school. Many people are fighting for the position of the young master of the school. As long as you can kill Jiang Chen, and with my help, the position of the young master of the school will be yours. The elder of punishment said in a deep voice, putting his hand on Yun Zhetian's shoulder. Understood. Yun Zhetian took a deep breath, and his eyes gradually became fierce. When the sun rose, all the people from the 4 sects gathered here. Jiang Chen stood beside Jian Yun. There are only 3 battles today. The first battle is between Yun Zhetian from the Cloud sect and Zhao Shi from the Sunlight sect. The second battle is between Jiang Chen from the Kunlun Celestial Mountain and Qian Shou from the Black Cloud sect. The third battle is the final battle. Elder Song and Lin Baichao walked out of the church together. Under Lin Baichao's signal, Elder Song shouted loudly, "The opportunity has come." Qian Shou's hand, which was hidden under his sleeve, tightly held the wooden box. The Black Cloud sect? Jiang Chen glanced at him. Be careful. The Black Cloud sect's methods are not honorable. According to what I know, the person who fought with them 2 days ago was not only injured, but was also poisoned. Jian Yun reminded him worriedly. Elder Jian, do you think they'll do anything to me? Jiang Chen crossed his arms in front of his chest. There was no worry or panic on his face. Instead, it was as if he was talking about something that had nothing to do with him. It's hard to say. Jian Yun shook his head. While Jiang Chen and Jian Yun were talking, Yun Zhetian and Zhao Shi were already standing in the arena. They could feel that the bounded domain around the arena had been reinforced. After all, the disciples who had made it this far, except for Jiang Chen, were all at least at the 5th level of the immortal realm. With this kind of strength, unless they were from the top sects in the northern region like the Kunlun Celestial Mountain, they would be considered geniuses in any other sect. They were the hope of the sect's future. That was indeed the case. The battle between Yun Zhetian and Zhao Shi was fiercer than the previous battles. It could also be seen that they had hidden some of their strength in the previous battles. The two continued to fight fiercely inside the bounded domain. Yun Zhetian held a long sword in his hand and constantly attacked. On the other side, Zhao Shi was using all his strength. Light attribute immortal qi was constantly flowing out of his body. While blocking, he was looking for a chance to counterattack. Lin Baichao stood at the entrance of the church. When he saw this scene, he pursed his lips. Both of them were at the 6th level of the immortal realm. It was difficult to determine the winner in a short time. However, he was more worried about Jiang Chen. A 3rd-level immortal realm cultivator against a 6th-level immortal realm cultivator was almost powerless. Great Elder, what's wrong? Elder Song saw that something was wrong with Lin Baichao. Nothing. Lin Baichao shook his head gently. Inside the bounded domain, Yun Zhetian condensed a long sword that shone brightly. This aura was similar to Mystic 3 and Mystic 4. A huge immortal chi barrier appeared in front of Zhao Shi's chest, completely blocking his body behind it. Cloud Blue Sword! Yun Zhetian roared and swung his long sword. An extremely strong wave of immortal chi suddenly swept out. Zhao Shi turned pale with fright. This kind of attack was not something he could withstand. As expected of a sect under immortal King Xianjun, this kind of immortal technique is rare in the entire northern region. Yes, with his strength, he seems to be able to fight against those above the 8th level of the immortal realm. Many people in the crowd were shocked by the situation and began to talk. The moment the long sword came into contact with Zhao Shi, it pierced through him. As for Zhao Shi, who was at the back, he was hit hard. His chest was slashed open, and blood spurted out. His aura instantly withered, and his face turned pale. Zhao Shi! Seeing that he was defeated, the people from the Sunlight sect immediately rushed forward. The elders of the sect entered the bounded domain and waved their hands to block Yun Zhetian's attack. If they had not intervened in time, Zhao Shi might have been able to keep his life, but his cultivation and body would be completely destroyed. I'm sorry. I was a little too harsh. Yun Zhetian took a deep breath and withdrew his immortal chi. He then cupped his fists and apologized to the people in front of him. Humph! The elder of the Sunlight sect snorted coldly. The chapter number was wrong yesterday, but the content was correct. Chapter 1665. The people of the Sunlight sect immediately left with Zhao Shi. They didn't even say goodbye to Lin Baichao. They knew that if they didn't bring Zhao Shi back to the sect for treatment in time, the best disciple of the Sunlight sect would no longer exist. Standing in the bounded domain, Yun Zhaotian looked at Jiang Chen provocatively. It's your turn. If you can seriously injure him, our plan will be halfway to success. Sun Feng also looked at Jiang Chen. Okay. Qian Shou held the wooden box and stood in the bounded domain. Under everyone's gazes, Jiang Chen also walked up to him. Theoretically, there should be no suspense in a fight between a 3rd-tier celestial immortal and a 5th-tier celestial immortal. However, Jiang Chen had given them too many surprises in the past few days. Those celestial immortals in the preliminary stage were defeated almost as soon as they met. Jiang Chen of the Kunlun Immortal Mountain! Jiang Chen stood with his hands clasped behind his back and nodded slightly at him. Qian Shou of the Black Cloud Sect! Qian Shou's eyes were gloomy as he fixed his eyes on Jiang Chen. As soon as these words came out of his mouth, he immediately jumped out. A pitch-black wooden stick flew out of his sleeve, shining with a cold light. There was a strong poison on the stick. If one looked carefully, the stick Qian Shou used was similar to the black stick used by the leader of the Black Cloud sect to defeat those immortal kings in Tianlang Mountain. Oh no! Lin Baichao, who was staring at the bounded domain, was shocked. He clearly felt that Qian Shou wanted to seriously injure Jiang Chen. His eyes instantly turned cold. As his dry fingers twisted, a weak wave of immortal chi spread out. Blade of the Driving Light! Jiang Chen didn't dare to be careless. His lips moved slightly, and a radiant longsword appeared. Then he swung it down forcefully. Accompanied by a sonic boom and a faint darkness in the space, it chopped down on the black stick without any fancy moves. Jiang! An ear-piercing sound rang out. The radiant longsword cut the stick in Qian Shou's hand into 2 pieces. At the same time, Lin Baicao's strand of immortal force penetrated the barrier and penetrated the Qian beast's back. This streak of celestial power wasn't very strong, and wasn't enough to injure him, but it made him stumble, and he fell forward. Seizing this opportunity, Jiang Chen condensed his immortal force on his knee, and with 1 foot on the ground, he soared into the sky. Crack! His knee, which was imbued with immortal power, smashed into the money beast's chin. Woo! Qian Shou whimpered. The immense pain caused his entire body to instantly go numb. Furthermore, under the immense power, he was sent flying backwards. Bang! His body fell heavily on the barrier, and then landed on the arena like a dead dog. In the blink of an eye, many people outside didn't even see what had happened. By the time they reacted, Qianshou was already lying on the stage. What's going on? That Jiangchen can't be a third-level heaven immortal, right? How could he beat a fifth-level heaven immortal into such a state? There was an uproar, and many people were talking about it. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they would never have believed it was true. Jiangchen! Half a minute later, Qianshou's finger twitched. He struggled to get up from the arena, threw away the broken wooden stick in his hand, and spat out a mouthful of blood. There were a few teeth mixed in the blood. Qianshou couldn't understand why Jiangchen could break his wooden stick so easily. That was the only technique in the sect that was personally taught by the sect master. Do you still want to try? Jiangchen held his long sword. Don't be too complacent. It's easy for me to kill you. Qianshou rubbed his aching chin, and he couldn't help but tremble slightly. However, when he was about to mobilize his immortal force again to deal with Jiangchen, he found that the immortal force he mobilized disappeared from his body at an extremely fast speed before it could be condensed. It was as if his body was now like a balloon with a pinhole. When he mobilized his immortal force, it had already leaked out of his body. What's going on? After mobilizing his immortal force a few more times, Qianshou's originally fierce face gradually became sluggish and frightened. If he couldn't mobilize his immortal force, even if he reached the immortal king realm, he was no different from an ordinary person. Qianshou, what are you doing? Sun Feng stood outside, his face flushed red. He didn't know what had just happened. He just thought that with Qianshou's strength, it shouldn't be a problem to deal with Jiangchen. But now, he was defeated as soon as they exchanged blows. He couldn't accept it at all. Hearing Sun Feng's roar, Qianshou's sweat dripped down. He was extremely anxious. He wanted to attack, but he couldn't condense his immortal force at all. Wiping the sweat off his head, Qianshou put his hope on the bloodthirsty bug. As long as the bloodthirsty bug could be sucked into Jiangchen's body, it didn't make any difference whether Jiangchen was defeated or not. Even if he was injured, he would be treated by the sect master. This was his only chance. Thinking of this, he rushed directly to Jiangchen, holding the wooden box in his hand and quietly opening it. Something's wrong. Jiangchen suddenly felt that something was wrong. He had already sensed that Qianshou's immortal force couldn't be condensed. Although he didn't know why, rushing over without any immortal force was no different from suicide. Watching him. Just as he was about to rush in front of him, Jiangchen saw it. In Qianshou's hand, there was a very small wooden box. The wooden box was opened, and a black and red bug was twisting inside. Despicable thing! Jiangchen spat. He could tell at first glance that this bug wasn't a good thing. And it looked like the money beast had risked its life to rush over here because it wanted to throw the bug onto Jiangchen. Jiangchen, I'm going to fight you to the death! Qianshou didn't know that Jiangchen had discovered it. He shouted and directly reached out, ready to press the bloodthirsty bug on Jiangchen's body. Once the bloodthirsty bug came into contact with the human body, it would immediately bite through the skin and burrow into the body, absorbing the immortal force as nutrients and releasing toxins to paralyze the meridians and nerves. Even an immortal supremacy would find it difficult to remove it. However, Jiangchen's eyes were still fixed on his palm. Just as he was about to push the bug on himself, Jiangchen took half a step back and suddenly stretched out his right hand that was condensed with immortal force. A powerful suction force erupted. Give it to me! With the suction force, the wooden box was directly sucked into Jiangchen's hand. And the bloodthirsty bug couldn't escape at all under the immortal force. Jiangchen, you! Qianshou's eyes trembled, and he hurriedly reached out to snatch it. Once the bloodthirsty bug was taken, not only would they have no chance to succeed, but their plan would also be exposed. Qianshou gathered all his strength and reached out to grab the wooden box. But when his palm touched the ball of immortal force, a sharp pain spread from his palm to his whole body. Ah! Qianshou shouted. Without the protection of the immortal force, he couldn't bear the pain at all. Chapter 1666. Taking 2 steps back, Qianshou clutched his chest and knelt on the ground. His chi was so weak that even his eyelids were tightly shut. "What's this?" Jiangchen sneered as he looked at the bug wrapped in immortal chi. However, Qianshou was no longer qualified to speak. "What's going on?" Lin Baichao rushed out and waved his hand to disperse the barrier. "This person tried to frame me. Great Elder Lin, take a look at this." Jiangchen didn't hide anything and directly floated the ball of immortal qi in front of Lin Baichao. Lin Baichao frowned slightly. When he dissipated Jiangchen's immortal qi, the bloodthirsty bug seemed to have been guided by something and rushed straight to his neck. However, this kind of bloodthirsty bug could only deal with immortal venerables, but it was useless against Lin Baichao, an immortal king expert. Slap! Lin Baichao slapped the bloodthirsty bug into a pile of mud. "Elder Sun Feng, why don't you explain? What is this thing?" Looking at the corpse, Lin Baichao sneered. He gently lifted his withered palm and the corpse of the bloodthirsty bug floated in front of him. Then, he rushed to Sun Feng and asked coldly. "This?" Sun Feng was embarrassed. He didn't know what to say. "How dare you play such tricks in front of my heaven and earth pharmacy? Take your people and get lost!" Lin Baichao directly threw the bloodthirsty bug at his face and scolded coldly. "Yes, we'll leave now." Sun Feng's heart was dead. It was impossible to use the bloodthirsty bug against Jiangchen now. The only thing they could do was to leave immediately and think of other ways. Otherwise, once they offended the heaven and earth pharmacy, they would have no chance to leave alive. "Take your disciples with you." Lin Baichao pointed at Qianshou, who was kneeling in the arena. Sun Feng walked up the arena with a gloomy face. He helped Qianshou up and turned into a gray stream of light and disappeared. The other two disciples immediately followed, for fear that they would be left behind by Lin Baichao. "What a despicable sect! Sooner or later, the reputation of the eastern region will be ruined by you in the northern region." Lin Baichao spat out a mouthful of saliva and said in disgust as he watched them leave. Withdrawing his immortal energy, Jiangchen walked down from the stage. Looking at Lin Baichao, he suddenly realized that when he was fighting with the Qian beast earlier, the Qian beast seemed to have been hit by something and staggered a few steps forward. Then, it was unable to condense immortal power. At that time, Jiangchen didn't know why, but now that he thought about it, it was probably Lin Baichao's doing. "Are you all right?" Lin Baichao whispered as he passed by Jiangchen. "It's nothing. I hope Great Elder Lin won't interfere in my fight with Yun Jitian," Jiangchen said with a faint smile. Then, he returned to Jian Yun's side. Jian Yun looked at Jiangchen from head to toe, his face filled with anger. If it weren't for Lin Baichao, he would have chased after them and killed all four of the Black Cloud sect. "Elder Jian Yun, don't be too angry. It's not good for your health," Jiangchen said with a smile as he felt Jian Yun's great mood swings. "I knew they might use some tricks, but I didn't expect them to use bloodthirsty insects." Jian Yun took a deep breath. "Bloodthirsty insects? What is that?" Jiangchen asked curiously. "It's a sinister insect in the Black Cloud sect. Once it enters the human body, it will suck the immortal power in your body and release toxins into your meridians and nerves. It's very difficult to remove. Only an immortal king can expel it from the body." Jian Yun narrowed his eyes and said, "This was originally a secret of the Black Cloud sect, but it was found out by the information hall of the Kunlun Immortal Mountain. It seems that they are indeed a subordinate sect of the Black sect." Jiangchen didn't feel much about it. Even if he was poisoned, Lin Baichao would definitely help him. "I've already confirmed it." Jian Yun trusted the information hall of the Immortal Mountain very much. After all, it was under his direct jurisdiction. During this period of time, in order to help Jiangchen, they had indeed investigated some useful information that they didn't know before. "Let's deal with the opponent in front of us first." Seeing Yun Jitian back in the arena, Jiangchen brushed the dust off his clothes. "Be careful, this kid is one of the top disciples of the Black Cloud sect. It is said that he is also a strong competitor for the position of the young sect master of the Black Cloud sect. His sect has suffered a loss in your hands before, so he must want to get back at you now." Jian Yun pulled Jiangchen's arm. Yun Zhaotian's strength was much stronger than Qian Shou's. He was afraid that with his cultivation base at the 6th layer of the immortal realm, he could fight a few rounds with an immortal venerable. Don't worry. Jiang Chen nodded at him. With a flash, he stood on the arena. I really didn't expect that there would be such an excellent disciple like you in the Kunlun Immortal Mountain. Yun Zhaotian didn't hide anything. While talking to Jiang Chen, he had already condensed the cloud blue sword in his hand. Thank you for letting me win. Jiang Chen cupped his fists in a pretentious manner. Return all the immortal jades and Wuji stones that you owe to the disciples of the Black Cloud sect, and I will consider going easy on you. Otherwise, with your strength, you will be severely injured if I go all out. Yun Zhaotian looked at Jiang Chen and said. He had already regarded himself as the young sect master. If he could get back all the immortal jades that the disciples of the Black Cloud sect had lost to him, he believed that these people would stand on his side during the election. If you agree to bet, you have to accept defeat. I don't have anything to give you. Jiang Chen sneered. Then don't blame me for being ruthless. Jiang Chen's disdain made Yun Zhaotian feel as if a huge rock was pressing against his chest. Even immortal King Xianjun can't do anything to me. You think too highly of yourself. It's good to be confident, but you can't be too confident. Jiang Chen shook his head. Yun Zhaotian was thoroughly enraged by these words. He talked nicely to Jiang Chen, but had received such treatment in return. He couldn't accept it at all. It was like running into a hooligan in the world of immortals. Jiang Chen, you will pay for what you said. Yun Zhaotian's eyes gradually turned scarlet. He thought Jiang Chen was humiliating him. His cloud blue sword began to emit a white mist. If he saw it for himself, he would know that it was the materialization of immortal power. I'll return the same words to you. Jiang Chen didn't have a good impression of immortal King Xianjun, and even less so of his subordinates. As soon as he finished speaking, Jiang Chen released immortal powers of 3 different attributes. The 3 immortal powers faintly merged together, and they kept revolving around his body slowly. 3 types? Yun Zhaotian's pupils constricted. Then his expression turned to one of disbelief. Even a top disciple like him only had 2 types of immortal power. Chapter 1667. However, Jiang Chen was only a LV3 heaven immortal. How could he possess 3 different celestial powers? Moreover, there were signs of them fusing together. Even the elders of the sect could not do that. Why? Are you surprised? Jiang Chen conjured a tree branch in his hand. The tree branch was black, but there was a white light lingering on it. Jiang Chen had comprehended it while he was resting. I'm not surprised. No matter how fancy you are, it's useless. Yun Zhaotian's face became gloomy again. He didn't know why Jiang Chen was acting like this, but he was confident in his own strength. Zhao Shi, who was also a LV6 heaven immortal, could not fight back at all. Jiang Chen, who was only a LV3 heaven immortal, was like an ant to him. However, in his anger and jealousy, he had forgotten how Jiang Chen had defeated Qian Shou in such a short time. Don't kill anyone. If anyone dares to break the rules, don't blame the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy for teaching them a lesson. Lin Baichao was worried that Jiang Chen would be at a disadvantage when he saw that the 2 of them were already at daggers drawn. Yes, great Elder Lin! Yun Zhaotian smiled. He could not kill Jiang Chen, but he could cripple him until he could no longer cultivate and become a useless disciple of Kunlun's Celestial Mountain. What a pity! If it weren't for this rule, I'm afraid you would have died here. Jiang Chen shook his head regretfully. Yun Zhaotian was completely enraged. He even forgot what Lin Baichao had said. The only thing in his mind was how to kill Jiang Chen here. I will make you pay for your arrogance. Yun Zhaotian held the cloud blue sword in his hand and suddenly disappeared from the arena. Rapid flash? Below the stage, everyone subconsciously blurted out. This swift flash was one of the signature immortal techniques of the Cloud sect. Once cultivated to great mastery, one could hide between heaven and earth at an extremely fast speed. Even if an immortal king were to come here, they would not be able to catch him. At the same time, this group of people also looked at Jiangchen. They wanted to see how a cultivator in the third level of the celestial immortal realm would deal with them. Comparing speed? Jiangchen couldn't help but laugh when he saw Yun Zhitian disappear. Following the extremely faint voice, 3 words floated out of Jiangchen's mouth. Myriad transformations, heavenly lamp. Jiangchen's figure also disappeared after a slight tremor. As soon as he disappeared, Yun Zhitian showed up behind where Jiangchen had been standing. He thrust the blue sword of cloud over. When he thought that Jiangchen had been hit, and was about to smile, he found that there was no one in front of him. Then, he felt a chill on his back and hurriedly dodged to the side. Shwa! The branches slid down his shoulders and arms. Hiss! Yun Zhitian shrank back and hurriedly looked to his side. The clothes on his arms had been torn, and the exposed skin was red. There was even a little bit of blood oozing out from his pores. If he had been hit directly, his entire arm would not have belonged to him. Yun Zhitian didn't dare underestimate Jiangchen anymore. Even he might not be able to exert such a powerful attack. Besides, Jiangchen's fighting experience was beyond his expectations. He didn't expect Jiangchen to be able to dodge his swift dodging technique. He even managed to locate Yun Zhitian and launch a counterattack. Unknowingly, cold sweat flowed down his face. What's wrong? Are you scared? Jiangchen played with the branches in his hand and asked with a smile. What a joke! Yun Zhitian carefully looked at Jiangchen. He no longer dared to act rashly, fearing that Jiangchen would find an opening. He was lucky enough to dodge last time, but he might not be so lucky next time. Seeing the expression on his face, Jiangchen knew that this person was wary of him. I've underestimated you. After calming down, Yun Zhitian's chi suddenly rose rapidly. In the blink of an eye, he had reached the 8th layer of the immortal realm. The solid accumulation seal of Yun sect. Lin Baichao frowned when he felt the fluctuation of immortal chi in the barrier. This was the immortal art of Xianjun Immortal King. When cultivating, he would store a part of his immortal chi in the seal. In case of an emergency, the seal would be released and his cultivation base would increase rapidly. From the 6th layer to the 8th layer, Yun Zhitian had probably released all of his immortal chi after learning the solid accumulation seal. Lin Baichao wanted to attack, but Jiangchen had said that he would defeat Yun Zhitian with his own strength. For a moment, Lin Baichao was in a dilemma. On the other hand, Jian Yun, who was standing at the side, was worried, but he did not move. Now that Jiangchen's strength had completely recovered, he was able to seriously injure Zhou Tai, who was an immortal venerable, in the first mountain. Now, facing an 8th layer immortal realm expert was not a problem. Son of a bitch, I'll show you my true strength now. Yun Zhitian laughed when he felt the abundant immortal chi in his body. Originally, he planned to release his immortal chi during the competition for the position of young sect master, but if he couldn't get rid of Jiangchen now, his title as the most outstanding disciple of Yun's sect would be taken away, and he would be humiliated by the other disciples of the sect. Only 2 layers, Jiangchen said disdainfully. 2 layers is enough to cripple you. Seeing that Jiangchen was still reluctant to admit his mistake, Yun Zhitian rushed forward with the blue cloud sword. This time, his chi was 2 times stronger than before. Even the stone slabs on the arena cracked as he rushed towards Jiangchen. Yun Zhitian's speed was very fast. In an instant he arrived in front of Jiangchen. He locked onto Jiangchen and poured out all the immortal chi in his body, trapping Jiangchen on the spot. In this way, Jiangchen could no longer escape and could only face him head-on. There was no suspense between an 8th layer immortal realm expert and a 3rd layer immortal realm expert. If Great Elder Lin didn't forbid me from killing, I would definitely make you disappear from the immortal world. Yun Zhitian's eyes were bloodshot. He raised the blue cloud sword in his hand and slashed towards Jiangchen's head. Oh? Is that so? When the blue cloud sword was about to hit Jiangchen's head, a shocking scene happened. Jiangchen raised his head and smiled faintly. Immediately after, his aura increased rapidly. 4th layer immortal realm. 6th layer immortal realm. 8th layer Immortal Realm. 1st layer Immortal Realm. In a breath's time, Jiang Chen's cultivation level rose by 8 levels. The branch in his hand instantly grew into a straight and slender tree trunk. Boom! The blue cloud soared and the trunk collided. A shockwave spread out. It was blocked by the barrier. But the people outside could still feel how fierce the fight was. Chapter 1668. After the fluctuation of immortal qi dissipated, the situation inside the barrier became clear to the onlookers. The arena, which had been flat, had collapsed a long time ago. 2 giant pits had appeared, while Jiang Chen and Yun Zhetian had disappeared. This is bad. Lin Baichao clenched his fists. Jian Yun was about to rush up to see what was going on. Just as the two of them were about to move, a figure flew out from one of the huge pits. Phew! Jiang Chen let out a breath of foul air. Outside Kunlun Celestial Mountain, he could not fully display his strength. This was the cultivation base that he had forcibly raised with the help of the beginning of all beginnings. He had not used his trump cards yet, so it was a little strenuous. Oh my God! When they saw Jiang Chen come out, they were all shocked. Who was this person? How could he raise his strength from a sky immortal to a divine immortal in an instant? Lin Baichao heaved a sigh of relief and immediately waved his hand to disperse the barrier. He could not expose his relationship with Jiang Chen, so even though he was worried, he could only pretend to be calm and stand in place. On the other hand, Jian Yun rushed up and grabbed Jiang Chen's wrist. Fortunately, the injury is not too serious. He'll recover after a few days of rest. When Jian Yun sensed the chaotic fluctuation of immortal qi in Jiang Chen's body, the anxious expression on his face eased a little. Where's Yun Zhetian? The elder of Yun's sect, who was called 7th uncle by Yun Zhetian, also rushed up. He looked nervously at the pit next to Jiang Chen, but he could not see anyone inside. He panicked. If something happened to Yun Zhetian here, he would not be able to explain himself when he returned. It's in there. Jiang Chen pointed at the deep pit not far away from them. The elder of Yun's sect did not hesitate and went down. After a while, he carried the injured Yun Zhetian out. Yun Zhetian, who was arrogant just a moment ago, was now lying on the shoulder of the elder of Yun's sect like a dead dog. Blood kept flowing out of his mouth, and his right arm was hanging limply. Almost half of his hair was gone. Jiang Chen, aren't you being too ruthless? When the elder of the Yun sect saw that Yun Zhetian had fainted and was severely injured, he shouted at Jiang Chen furiously. Elder, I don't want to hear that. You saw what happened inside the barrier. Yun Zhetian clearly wanted to injure me severely. If I didn't fight back, I'm afraid I would be the one dead now, Jiang Chen said with a cold smile. With Jian Yun here, he didn't put the people of Yun's sect in his eyes. Who are you calling a dead dog? Yun's sect's elder seemed to have been guessed. It's just a description. Elder, you won't be angry, right? Jiang Chen gave him a bright smile. Jian Yun couldn't help but laugh out loud. Previously, when Jiang Chen insulted him, he was very angry. Now that he heard that Jiang Chen was insulting the elder of Yun's sect, he felt very happy. It was more enlightening than comprehending immortal skills. Good boy, I will remember what happened today. You better not let us see you again in the future. Yun's sect's elder couldn't do anything to Jiang Chen. Are you threatening our Kunlun Celestial Mountain? Hearing this, Jian Yun stopped smiling and took a step forward. Humph! Yun's sect's elder said no more. Not to mention whether he was a match for Jian Yun, if he dared to attack, Lin Baichao would definitely not sit back and watch. Looking at Yun Zhetian, Yun's sect's elder waved his hand and led all the disciples of Yun's sect away. Haha, little friend Jiang Chen, the champion of this great sect competition is on your head. Lin Baichao walked down the church and stood on the stage. He handed the wooden box that he had prepared in advance to Jiang Chen. Thank you, great elder Lin. Jiang Chen nodded and thanked him. No one could deny it. They had all seen Jiang Chen's strength with their own eyes. He was only in the 3rd tier of the celestial immortal realm, but he had managed to severely injure Yun Zhaotian, who was in the 8th tier of the celestial immortal realm, into a coma. This was beyond their knowledge. Let's go, we can't stay here for long. When Jiang Chen received the gift box, Jian Yun grabbed Jiang Chen's arm and walked towards the exit of the town. He knew that those people of Black Cloud sect would definitely not leave and would try their best to attack. If they continued to stay here, they would be in danger. Young master, take care. Lin Baichao bowed slightly and said in his heart. After leaving the town, Jiang Chen threw the wooden box into his storage ring conveniently. The immortal king's comprehension was of no use to him at all. The foundation establishing elixir was just like a mosquito's leg. Maybe it would be useful when Hikari started practicing in the future. Puyu was standing on the mountain range on both sides of the road. Instead of Puyu, it was more accurate to say that the sect master of Black Sect had become a walking corpse after being possessed by a wisp of soul essence. Sect master, we failed. Sun Feng led the 3 disciples to the front of the sect master of Black Sect. Seeing the thin figure, Sun Feng directly knelt on the ground and trembled. Do we still have a chance? The sect master of Black Sect looked back at them. Yes, they have left the town now. Jiang Chen is also injured. As long as we lure Jian Yun out, we will succeed. Sun Feng nodded vigorously. This was their last chance. I'll trust you this time. I'll lure Jian Yun away. You take the opportunity to kill Jiang Chen, understand? The sect master of Black Sect stood up and rushed down. His soul essence only had the strength of a half-step immortal monarch. Jian Yun instantly sensed that something was amiss when he approached the area in front of him. Black Cloud Sect? Jian Yun mobilized his immortal energy, but soon found that something was wrong. No, the Black Cloud Sect doesn't have this gloomy aura. It should be the sect master of Black Sect or someone from Black Sect. Jiang Chen also stopped. Stay here and don't move. This person's cultivation is around the half-step immortal monarch realm. You are not his opponent. Let me deal with him. Find a chance to leave. Jian Yun took a deep breath. After instructing Jiang Chen, he rushed in the direction where the fluctuation came from. What a headache! Jiang Chen held his forehead. He should have asked Bai Xianling to settle this matter when he met him. Then, there wouldn't be such trouble now. Jian Yun left very quickly and released his aura. He wanted to let the other party know that Jiang Chen was protected by an expert. If he didn't get rid of him, he wouldn't be able to hurt Jiang Chen. However, not long after Jian Yun had left, Jiang Chen detected the appearance of several other auras that he was familiar with. Jiang Chen, you didn't expect that you would be alone, did you? Sun Feng came out with his 3 disciples, and when he saw that there was no one around, he spoke to Jiang Chen directly. People from Black Cloud Sect? Jiang Chen was a little surprised. Chapter 1669. That's right. I'm Elder Sun Feng of the Black Cloud Sect. I didn't expect that we would underestimate your strength. But that's not important. You won't be able to leave here alive today. Sun Feng smiled proudly. With his strength as a half-step immortal monarch, it wouldn't be a problem for him to deal with Jiang Chen. After seeing them, Jiang Chen's expression froze. Just as Sun Feng said, he had to use all his strength to defeat Zhou Tai, who was an immortal monarch. There was no way he could defeat a cultivator who was about to become an immortal monarch. However, Jiang Chen didn't think that he would die here. After all, if he couldn't defeat them, he could still run away. With his myriad transformation heavenly lamp, there weren't many people in the immortal world who could catch up with him. What are you waiting for? Are you waiting for Jian Yun to come back and save you? Sun Feng laughed when he saw Jiang Chen standing still. He could already see the situation when the sect master of the Black Sect rewarded him. Nothing. Jiang Chen shook his head. Immortal chi began to accumulate in his body. The words myriad transformation heavenly lamp were about to come out of his mouth. Just as Jiang Chen was about to speak, a figure suddenly floated over. Then, more than 10 figures appeared with the former and surrounded Sun Feng, Qian Shou, and the others. Haha, it's been a long time since someone dared to cause trouble in the territory of our heaven and earth pharmacy. Today has really opened my eyes. Lin Baichao stroked his beard and smiled kindly. Lin Baichao? Sun Feng's eyes widened. With your status, you should call me Grand Elder Lin. Lin Baichao waved his hand and said, Grand Elder Lin, this is between us and Jiangchen. We're not in your town now, so please don't interfere. Sun Feng gritted his teeth and clenched his fists. Jiangchen is the champion of this sect competition. Naturally, we won't see him in danger. Leave this place as soon as possible before I get angry. You don't want to be the first sect to go against our heaven and earth pharmacy, do you? Lin Baichao had no intention of moving half a step. Grand Elder Lin! Sun Feng shouted in a deep voice. This was the last chance that the Grand Master had given them. If they didn't grab hold of it, they might really die here. If you want to go to the toilet, there's one in town. Seeing Sun Feng's red face, Lin Baichao pointed in the direction of the town. If you don't want to go to the toilet, leave immediately. Otherwise, don't blame me for making a move on you. Attack! Kill Jiangchen! Sun Feng wasn't going to wait any longer. If he stayed any longer, he might die. So he could only fight to the death. As long as he could kill Jiangchen, even if he was killed by Lin Baichao, there might still be a chance for him to be resurrected by the sect master. Stop them! To deal with these people, Lin Baichao disdained to do it himself. With a wave of his hand, a dozen or so immortal venerables stepped forward and surrounded the four of them in the blink of an eye. A few minutes later, the four of them were knocked to the ground. If they hadn't held back, they would have been beaten into meat patties at the first moment of contact. I truly never expected that they would dare to attack you. Lin Baichao walked in front of Jiangchen with a kind face. It was completely different from the way he was talking to Sun Feng. It's within my expectations. Jiangchen smiled and said casually. Why did the people of Black Cloud Sect attack you? Lin Baichao didn't know about the sect master of the Black Sect, nor did he know that the Black Cloud Sect was a branch of the Black Sect. He was just curious that a sect like the Black Cloud Sect dared to take the risk of being killed by him. It's nothing. Jiangchen didn't intend to say. He didn't know much about the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy, but he was sure that it should be a good help for him. Well, if you don't say, then I won't ask more. Lin Baichao didn't ask. Sun Feng and the others were lying on the ground, unable to get to their feet, but they kept crawling toward Jiangchen. Since they were going to die anyway, they might as well finish the task assigned to them by the headmaster. That way, they would have a chance to stand up again. Kill them! Jiangchen frowned. He felt disgusted when he saw the people of Black Cloud Sect. Lin Baichao responded. Receiving the order, one of them directly shot out an attack of immortal power. Under the control of his mind, it directly pierced through the chests of Sun Feng and Qian Shou. Immediately, the four people's vitality completely dissipated. Young master, I'll send someone to escort you back. Lin Baichao was worried that the people of Black Cloud Sect would attack on the way. That's not necessary. Jiangchen immediately refused. He didn't want to expose the relationship between him and the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy. It might play a key role in the future. While he was talking with Lin Baichao, Jian Yun also rushed back from the distance. Great Elder Lin? When he saw so many people gathered in front of Jiangchen, Jian Yun asked in surprise. Great Elder Lin, why are you here? After you left, the people of Black Cloud Sect prepared to attack Jiangchen. I sent someone to stop them. Lin Baichao pointed to the corpses on the ground and said, These people came to participate in the sect meeting. I didn't want to kill them, but they insisted on attacking Jiangchen, so I had to kill them all. Good, these people deserve to be killed. Jian Yun nodded heavily. You'd better leave here quickly. Otherwise, the people of Black Cloud Sect may still target you. Lin Baichao looked around and hurriedly urged after seeing that there was no special situation around. And then Great Elder Lin, we'll take our leave. Jian Yun wiped the cold sweat on his head and cupped his hands toward Lin Baichao. He just understood that he had been lured away. If Lin Baichao hadn't arrived in time, the one lying on the ground now would be Jiangchen. Jian Yun didn't dare to think about the consequences. After bidding farewell to Lin Baichao, Jian Yun immediately left with Jiang Chen. Lin Baichao stood there with a dozen guards, watching the two until Jiang Chen's figure completely disappeared from sight. He sighed and turned back to the town. On the way, Jian Yun told Jiang Chen about the situation. He also said that he would tell the first mountain lord after returning to Kunlun Celestial Mountain. Jiang Chen nodded and didn't say anything. In the evening, the two returned to the mountain gate. Jian Yun not only told him about Black Cloud sect, but also that Jiang Chen had won the sect meeting. When the news spread out, Zhou Tai, who was lying in bed in the 8th mountain, couldn't accept it. He didn't understand how Jiang Chen could defeat those cultivators whose strength was above the 5th level of the immortal realm when he was seriously injured. It was unbelievable for him. I didn't expect Jiang Chen to win the competition. Yang Zhu was also a little disappointed, but there was also a little joy in his heart. Chapter 1670. After all, although Jiang Chen had some enmity with the 8th mountain, the rules still belonged to the Kunlun Celestial Mountain. The stronger Jiang Chen's talent was, the more likely it was that their celestial mountain would have an expert who could break through to the immortal monarch realm in the future. This was not an exaggeration. Being able to advance from a true immortal to a celestial immortal in such a short time and seriously injuring Zhou Tai, a celestial prime, was something that had never happened in their Kunlun Celestial Mountain. As for Jiang Chen, it was very likely that he would grow to a level beyond their reach. The first mountain. When the first mountain lord heard the news that the Black Cloud sect had attacked Jiang Chen at the sect meeting, he immediately summoned all the mountain lords. Bai Xiaoyun, Little Ape, and Huafu were also present. Tell me what to do. The Black Cloud sect has already bullied our Kunlun Celestial Mountain. If we sit back and do nothing, won't others look down on us? The first mountain lord's cold voice rang out as he glanced at the mountain lords and the experts sitting below. We'll listen to you. Yang Zhu had already lost his temper. He had targeted Jiang Chen 2 or 3 times in a row, but they were all resolved by Jiang Chen's strength. To a certain extent, he had been convinced by Jiang Chen's performance. What about you? The first mountain lord looked at the others. The other mountain chieftains nodded in agreement. The strength and talent that Jiang Chen had shown made them know that helping Jiang Chen was helping the future Kunlun Celestial Mountain. One day, this man would definitely become the #1 person in the sect. He might even bring the sect to a height that it had never reached before and stand at the top of the immortal world. Since everyone agrees, let's move out immediately. The first mountain lord nodded with satisfaction, then stood up and waved his delicate hand. At the entrance of the main hall, more than a dozen experts with the strength of second-level immortal monarch realm appeared together. Qing Mu, gather the experts of our 9th mountain here. Xian Yu was the first to stand up and ordered Qing Mu, who was beside her. Yes, master. Qing Mu nodded and immediately flew out. Like Xian Yu, Wei Yu and the other mountain lords also ordered their men to leave. In just a short while, over 100 streams of light gathered at the peak of the first mountain. Many disciples were so shocked that their bodies trembled when they saw this scene. Some of these people had been in the sect for dozens of years, while others had been in the sect for hundreds of years. There were also some who had been in the sect for thousands of years. However, they had never seen all the experts of the 9 mountains gather together. Is there any movement, or is our Kunlun sect in trouble? Don't spout nonsense. You've been a disciple of the sect for hundreds of years. When have you ever seen the sect in trouble? In my opinion, it must be a joint operation between the mountain chieftains. It has nothing to do with us. Don't ask what you shouldn't ask, and don't discuss what you shouldn't discuss. Just do your job well. Seeing this scene, the disciples couldn't help but start discussing. However, it soon returned to its previous calm. Hundreds of experts had gathered at the peak of the mountain. The waves of immortal chi they formed were almost spreading outside the mountain gate. In 10 minutes, leave Kunlun Celestial Mountain with me. The first mountain lord stood at the entrance of the main hall. The group of people in front of him could be said to be one of the strongest forces in the Kunlun Celestial Mountain. Yes. Hundreds of people spoke in unison, their voices resounding throughout the world. I really didn't expect that the Kunlun Celestial Mountain would send out such a strong lineup just for you. Bai Xiaoyun stood beside Jiang Chen and sighed. If they join forces, I'm afraid even our divine secret pavilion will find it difficult to resist. It's not easy to get the recognition of these mountain chieftains. Jiang Chen's expression was calm. However, the things that happened in the past half a month were indeed dangerous. 10 minutes passed. The first mountain lord didn't say anything and directly flashed down the mountain. Behind him, the other 8 mountain chieftains followed closely. Hundreds of experts also turned into flowing lights. Let's go too. Jiang Chen took a deep breath and said to the 3 people beside him. Let's go and see what the legendary subsect of the Black Sect looks like. Bai Xiaoyun nodded. However, if we go out, Feng Yu and Hikari will have no one to protect them. Kunlun Celestial Mountain is not a place that anyone can break into. Jiang Chen revealed an inexplicable smile. The dignified Celestial Mountain was far more than what it looked like on the surface. Brother Jiang Yuan, Sister Hufu, let's follow. Glancing at the flowing light that was about to disappear into the horizon, Jiang Chen took the lead and left. He activated the ever-changing heavenly lamp and chased after it almost instantly. In a forest in the eastern part of the northern region. This was the area where the Black Cloud sect was located. The entire forest was shrouded in miasma. If ordinary people entered without permission, even if they had the cultivation of an immortal prime, they would be trapped inside until they died of hunger and cold. The sect was at the foot of the mountain. At this time, someone hurried in and reported the situation at the sect meeting to the higher-ups of the Black Cloud sect. What did you say? Sun Feng and the others were killed by Lin Baichao of the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy? Hearing this news, Sect Master Sun Lian suddenly stood up as if he couldn't believe it. Our Black Cloud sect has never had any conflict with the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy. Why did they suddenly attack? This, the disciple stammered and didn't dare to speak. Speak quickly, or I'll kill you now. Sun Lian raised his hand and slapped. Sect Master, please spare my life. The disciple immediately knelt on the ground. I heard that Elder Sun Feng was going to attack Jiang Chen, but was stopped by Lin Baichao and then killed. Why did the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy help Jiang Chen? Sun Lian sat down on the chair. It was the headmaster's order to assassinate Jiang Chen. That was why he had sent Sun Lian, a disciple he trusted, to attend the sect's meeting. He had thought it would be easy, but he couldn't accept the result. I didn't find out. The disciple lowered his head and didn't dare to look up at Sun Lian. You can leave now. Sun Lian waved his hand and said in a low voice. As soon as the disciple left, a new disciple came in a panic. After entering the hall, he twisted his foot and fell to the ground. What's wrong now? Sun Lian didn't hide it. Sect Master, something bad has happened. Our sentries saw hundreds of people rushing towards the sect from the east. They look aggressive as if they are looking for trouble. The disciple swallowed his saliva, his eyes full of fear. Who are they? Sun Lian stood up from the chair again. I don't know, but they are very strong. The sentry couldn't detect their cultivation at all. The disciple shook his head vigorously. Sect Master, could it be that the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy is looking for trouble? Impossible. The Heaven and Earth Pharmacy just killed Elder Sun Feng, and they have no grudges with our Black Cloud sect. They won't bring a large number of people to look for trouble. Sun Lian denied it. After thinking for a while, he continued. Pass down my order. Tell all the disciples to wait at the sect gate. Chapter 1671. After receiving Sun Lian's order. In a very short period of time, all the disciples of the Black Cloud sect came out and guarded the back of the sect. Although they didn't know what had happened, they weren't fools. They could realize that the sect was in danger. You guys follow me out. Sun Lian came out of the Black Hall, pointed to a few disciples and ordered. Then, he quickly left the sect and disappeared into the miasma in the forest. Just as they went out, hundreds of extremely strong fluctuations spread out. Even the miasma in the forest was blown away. Sun Lian immediately mobilized all the immortal power in his body to replenish it, which stabilized the miasma. The reason why the Black Cloud sect could survive in the northern region for so long was because of the miasma, which made the experts of other sects not dare to intrude. But now, facing hundreds of experts, he felt a sense of powerlessness from the bottom of his heart. The immortal power fluctuations combined together were like a mountain, pressing down on him. "Who is it?" A few elders rushed out and asked with horror in their eyes. "I don't know yet. It's probably one of the stronger sects in the northern region." Sun Lian shook his head. When he exhaled, his lips trembled uncontrollably. He tried to recall. Whether he had offended any sects in the past hundreds of years, but no matter how hard he thought, he couldn't figure it out. To be able to send so many experts, it must be a famous sect in the northern region. However, Sun Lian never dared to provoke these sections. Even if there was a grudge, it was impossible to forget. Outside the forest, the first mountain lord was the first to arrive. She stood on top of the forest and looked down at the forest below. She said faintly, "Black Cloud sect, immediately put down all your defenses and leave the forest to surrender. Otherwise, the entire sect will be wiped out." Her clear voice echoed in the forest. Originally, she didn't want to make a move on the Black Cloud sect so early. She was prepared to use this sect to investigate the situation of the Black Sect's sect master. However, the other party dared to make a move on Jiangchen at the sect meeting. This touched the bottom line. Behind her, hundreds of immortal venerables and immortal monarchs arrived at the same time. Jiangchen stood behind the first mountain lord. On his left was Xianyu, Weiyu, and the other 6 mountain lords. On his right was Bai Xiaoyun, Jiangyuan, and Huafu. Behind Jiangchen were many experts of Kunlun Immortal Mountain. Kunlun Immortal Mountain! Hearing this familiar voice, Sun Lian immediately understood. His heart trembled, and his face instantly turned ashen. What was this? The Kunlun Celestial Mountain had come to avenge Jiangchen. Sect leader, now that things have come to this, we can only ask for sect leader's help to resolve today's crisis. Beside Sun Lian, an elder said with a trembling voice. If the Kunlun Immortal Mountain were to come out in full force, the number of people in the immortal world who could stop them could be counted on one hand. You must be dreaming. Our Black Cloud sect is just one of the subsects of the Black sect. There are 9 sects like us in the immortal world. We are just pawns of the sect master. Do you think he will come here for a pawn? Sun Lian said in a low voice. He had already seen through this matter. He just wanted to continue getting benefits from the great sect master. However, he did not expect that a sect as strong as the Kunlun Immortal Mountain would be involved. Then what should we do? Hearing Sun Lian's words, the elder's heart turned cold. What else can we do? We either open the door and surrender, or we fight to the death. However, looking at the Kunlun Immortal Mountain's attitude, we won't have any good results even if we surrender. It might be to confuse us. As long as we leave the forest, we will immediately be killed by her subordinates. Sun Lian took a deep breath. He could still see this point clearly. How could they return empty-handed when they came out in full force? Then let's fight to the death with them. The elder gradually understood from Sun Lian's words. Sun Lian hesitated for a moment, and said to the elder beside him in a deep voice. Pass my order to every disciple. Tell them that if they don't fight with all their might, only death awaits them. Now, other than themselves, no one can help us. As soon as he said those words, he was already prepared to die here. Understood. The elder nodded and immediately turned to run back into the sect. Above the forest, after seeing that there was no reply, the first mountain lord waved his hand. The other 8 mountain lords immediately stepped forward and formed a formation in the position where they stood. Kunlun Immortal Technique, Clear Karma! A low shout came from the mouths of the 9 people. Immediately, the 9 of their immortal powers fused and intertwined together, forming a huge net that directly enveloped the forest. As the formation was activated, pure immortal powers flowed down, continuously purifying the miasma in the forest. The 9 mountain lords working together actually have such a powerful immortal technique. Bai Xiaoyun could not help but sigh. Even the divine secret pavilion did not have such an immortal technique. For a moment, she could not help but feel envious. She even wanted to leave the divine secret pavilion and join the Kunlun immortal mountain. Even if she became an elder, it was still better than staying in a poor place like the divine secret pavilion. In less than 30 seconds, the miasma in the forest was completely cleared. The first mountain lord put down his hands and waited for the formation to disperse before speaking directly. Everyone, immediately rush into the Black Cloud sect. Kill the disciples on the spot, but leave the elders alive. If anyone can capture Sect Master Sun Lian, they will be given a great merit, and will be allowed to enter the divine cave to cultivate and comprehend. Under his command, hundreds of experts rushed directly into the forest. As for the 8th Mountain Lord, who had some grudges with Jiangqin, he was the first to rush. Jiangqin just stood in midair, watching their actions. My hands are a little itchy. Jian Yuan rubbed his hands. Brother Jiang Yuan, go move around, but don't kill the elders and the sect master. If you make the first mountain lord unhappy, we will all be kicked out. Jiangqin nodded in agreement. After coming out of the immortal emperor's tomb, Jian Yuan had been staying in the Kunlun immortal mountain, so he did not have a chance to make a move. Don't worry. Jian Yuan smiled, and his whole body flew quickly into the forest. Before he landed, his body expanded sharply against the wind, and in an instant, he changed back to his original form and landed heavily in the forest. Accompanied by a loud roar, he quickly shuttled through the forest. Sister Huafu, what about you? Jiangqin looked at the enchanting and charming woman beside him. I won't go. This kind of fighting and killing, let them deal with it. Huafu smiled charmingly. That's right, brother Jiangqin. Don't you want to go down and take a look? They were planning to kill you during the sect meeting. Logically speaking, you should be the one at the front. I won't go. Jiangqin smiled and waved his hand, then continued. But when they capture the Black Cloud sect master, I will go and give him 2 punches. Chapter 1672. Quite ruthless. Huafu was amused by Jiangqin and laughed out loud. While they were talking, the experts of Kunlun Immortal Mountain had completely disappeared into the forest. Waves of extremely strong immortal power fluctuations came out from inside, accompanied by the screams of the disciples of Black Cloud sect. Within a radius of 100 miles, many cultivators felt the immortal power fluctuations. But not only did they not want to come and watch the fun, they even wanted to run away immediately. Let's go and take a look. I guess Black Cloud sect will completely disappear from the northern region in the future. About 10 minutes later, Jiangqin leaned back and flew directly in the direction of Black Cloud sect. Bai Xiaoyun and Huafu turned into 2 rays of light, one white and one red, and followed. At the entrance of Black Cloud sect, there were more than a dozen experts of Kunlun Immortal Mountain guarding it. When they saw Jiangqin come in, they all nodded. Although Jiangqin's strength was low, what he had done had long been spread in Kunlun Immortal Mountain. He was worthy of their attention. Inside the sect, there were many disciples' corpses lying inside. The whole sect's buildings were almost completely destroyed, and there were broken walls everywhere. One could only vaguely tell what Black Cloud sect looked like before. Following Jiangqin, Bai Xiaoyun couldn't help but exclaim, Tut tut, of all people, the Black Cloud sect could have provoked, but why did they have to provoke you? A sect with average strength in the North Field has ended up like this in less than 5 minutes. If you want to blame someone, blame them for being a subsect of the Black sect, Jiangqin said lightly. In the Black Hall, the first Mountain Lord sat in the first place. The other 8 Mountain Lords sat on both sides. Standing in the middle of the hall were Sun Lian and several elders. Even though he had spared their lives, all of them were heavily injured, and the immortal chi in their bodies was weak. In such a state, even an ordinary heavenly immortal cultivator could easily take their lives. Mountain Lords! Jiangqin entered and cupped his hands at them. Jiangchen threw out a disciple of Black Cloud sect who had been tortured to death by him. His body quickly shrank, and he walked into the hall with Jiangchen and the others. Jiangchen, the headmaster of the Black Cloud sect, sent someone to attack you at the sect's meeting. So it's up to you to decide whether they will live or die, the first mountain lord said calmly when he saw Jiangchen coming in. Sect Master Sun Lian? Jiangchen with a smile, he walked around in front of Sun Lian and bowed. If you want to kill me, then kill me! Sun Lian snorted coldly. He knew that he would not be able to leave this place alive. Instead of begging for mercy, he would rather die a tough death. What a backbone! Jiangchen clapped his hands. Let me ask you, since Black Cloud sect is a subsect of the Black sect, and you are the sect master and elders of the sect, then tell me everything you know about the Black sect and the sect master of the Black sect, and I can promise to let you live. Bai Xiaoyun walked in front of Jiangchen and pressed the long sword in her hand against Sun Lian's chin, forcing him to raise his head. Don't say that I don't know. Even if I knew, I wouldn't tell you. Sun Lian crooked his mouth. What a joke, it was he who ordered you to attack Jiangchen, right? Bai Xiaoyun laughed and said, Since you have come into contact with him, then you have understood him. Kill me if you can. Sun Lian spat out a mouthful of blood and shouted at the top of his voice. Eldest apprentice brother, since he wants to die so badly, why don't you fulfill his wish? I've never heard of such a request. Bai Xiaoyun was about to teach him a lesson when Jiangchen's voice came from behind her. Bai Xiaoyun didn't hesitate and directly stabbed the long sword into his throat along his chin. The moment the long sword entered the skin, an extremely strong wave of immortal power spread out from the sword, destroying all the meridians in Sun Lian's body. Swish! Just as the color in Sun Lian's eyes was about to disappear, a wisp of soul flew out from the top of his head and fled out of the Black Temple. At the immortal monarch level, unless the gate of life was hit, the soul could still survive after death. As long as one took a specific pill or used a specific method, they could be reborn in a sense. Want to run? Bai Xiaoyun grinned. With his immortal king cultivation, he could have cut off Sun Lian and his soul at the same time, making this person completely disappear from the immortal world. The reason why he left a trick up his sleeve was to force his soul out. Bang! Sun Lian's soul fled in panic, but when it was about to leave the Black Temple, it suddenly hit the air wall. I forgot to tell you, before I attacked you, I deliberately set up a barrier in the hall. With your current ability, you will never be able to escape. Bai Xiaoyun put away the long sword and walked straight to the entrance of the hall. Looking at the floating soul, he sneered. You're really a despicable villain. Sun Lian's soul bared his teeth. In terms of despicableness, I can't compare to your black sect. Bai Xiaoyun stretched out his hand and a jade bottle appeared in his palm. When the bottle opened, a suction force burst out and directly sucked Sun Lian's soul into it. Then, he sealed the bottle with immortal power. Here, I'll give it to you. After doing all this, Bai Xiaoyun directly threw the bottle to Jiangchen. Thank you, eldest senior brother. Jiangchen caught it and threw it into his storage ring without even looking at it. Leaving Sun Lian's soul body, he could often torture him in the future. This person definitely knew something about the situation of the Black Sect's patriarch. After being tortured, he might open his mouth and say it, which was much better than killing him directly. All the elders of the Black Sect clearly saw Sun Lian's fate. They felt that they were shrouded in great fear. Like their sect master, his body was destroyed and his soul was trapped. It was really better to die. What about you guys? Do you have anything to say to me? Jiangchen clapped his hands, stood up and stretched his muscles and bones, and asked in a low voice. You ask, we'll tell you everything. Several people felt a chill on their backs. Jiangchen nodded satisfactorily. At the same time, he warned them. Good. You can live if you tell the truth. If you dare lie, I can guarantee you will suffer a fate 100 times more painful than Sun Lian's. Whoosh! The sound of wind breaking was heard. Several elders of the Black Cloud sect who were just about to tell the truth stagnated and fell forward to the ground. Bai Xiaoyun was the first to react, but unfortunately, his speed was still too slow. As soon as he moved, there was no chance to stop him. The 9 mountain lords stood up at the same time and rushed outside together. On the backs of these elders, there were very thin wooden sticks. It was these wooden sticks that shattered their bodies and souls at the same time, and there was no possibility of waking up. The Black Sect Master, or a powerhouse of the Black Sect, otherwise it would be impossible to penetrate my barrier. Bai Xiaoyun frowned tightly. Although he did not go out with the mountain lords, he still turned his head and vigilantly observed the situation outside. What a pity! Jiang Chun could not help but shake his head. Chapter 1673. This person's cultivation is not much weaker than Master's. He might even be slightly stronger. I'm afraid he has been watching us for a long time. It's not easy to trap Sun Lian's soul. These elders definitely don't know as much as he does. Overall, this operation is not a loss. Bai Xiaoyun was very clear about the situation. In the immortal world, aren't the 3 immortal kings the strongest? After leaving for so long, Jiang Qin didn't know much about the situation in the immortal world. Although that's the case, the immortal world is vast and boundless. There are countless experts in it. There will definitely be people with similar cultivation as Master. It's just that they aren't very famous. Of course, as far as I know, there are less than 10 people who can be compared to Master. Seeing that there was no one else present, Bai Xiaoyun explained directly. Looking at Hua Fu and Jiang Yuan who were standing guard at the door, Jiang Qin continued to ask. If only Master could take action and get rid of the Black Sect leader. Unfortunately, he didn't take the initiative to mention it when he came back last time. Master might have his own plans. But don't worry. If you really encounter danger, Master will definitely rush back in time. Besides, I'm here. If anyone wants to hurt you, they'll have to step over my dead body first. Bai Xiaoyun patted Jiang Chen's shoulder and said in a deep voice. Jiang Chen's nose twitched. Bai Xiaoyun had already done what she said. After coming out of the Heaven's Secret Pavilion, he had been protecting him. Whether it was facing immortal kings or immortal primes, he had never backed down. He was always standing in front of him. This person is too strong. When we chased him out of the forest, his aura had already been hidden. Not long after, several mountain lords came in at the same time. The first mountain lord said angrily. This was the first time she had been defeated. She didn't even know who the other party was. He's from the Black Sect. Xianyu walked to Jiang Chen and stopped. That's right. He might be the Black Sect leader. Wei Yu continued. Forget it. This person is too strange and hard to capture. Let's return to the Immortal Mountain first. The first mountain lord waved his hand. Clearly, he didn't want to talk about this topic any further. Mountain Lord Yang, your people will return later. Search the Black Cloud sect thoroughly and see if you can find anything valuable. The treasures in this sect will belong to your 8th mountain. No problem. Yan Ju's eyes lit up. No matter what, this Black Cloud sect was still considered a middle-level sect in the Northern Domain. There were definitely many good things. I'll stay behind as well. The rest of you, return to the Immortal Mountain first. Thinking about what had just happened, the first mountain lord was worried that this person was still waiting nearby. If only the people from the 8th mountain were here, it would not be safe, and it was possible that they would all die here. Under the orders of the first mountain chieftain, the other 6 mountain chieftains left with the experts from their respective mountain sections. Jiang Chen didn't stay either. During the great assembly of the great sect, in order to hide his true strength, he hadn't used all his trump cards against Yun Zhitian. As a result, he had been injured again. Although it wasn't as serious as when he had fought against Zhou Tai, he still needed to rest. The 9th mountain. After Jiang Chun returned, he went straight back here. After informing Xian Yu, he began to recuperate. While recuperating, Jiang Chun also took the opportunity to train Hikari, so that she could begin to embark on the path of cultivation. Although 12 or 13 years old was a little late, after fighting in the underground boxing arena for a few years, she still had some combat experience. Moreover, cultivation wasn't just about being early, it also depended on talent. Jiangchen gave her a few immortal arts that he had taken out from the immortal emperor's tomb. Hikari was also very sensible. She knew that she couldn't rely on Jiangchen's protection alone. If she didn't want to live such a dark life in the future, she could only work hard to cultivate. When she became stronger, she would be able to gain the respect of others. As the leaves of the trees on the 9th mountain gradually fell, autumn had arrived. Jiangchen had recuperated for almost 3 months. During these 3 months, he had not only recovered from his injuries, but he had even taken the opportunity to break through to the 4th tier of the celestial immortal realm. Hikari had also become a real immortal under his guidance. She had officially embarked on the path of cultivation. Jiangchen, someone from the Ganges Bank sent an invitation. On this day, Xianyu pushed open the door and handed the red paper in her hand to Jiangchen. The Ganges Bank? Jiangchen was a little surprised. When he took it, he casually touched Xianyu's slender waist. Then, he said seriously, I don't have any relationship with them. Why would they send me an invitation? Xianyu's face was red. Ever since Jiangchen returned to the Kunlun Celestial Mountain, she had been taken advantage of countless times. Your father, Wan Qing, is a regular customer of the Ganges Bank. Did you forget that you borrowed money from me to repay his debt? With such a large sum of immortal jade, the Ganges Bank will naturally remember you, Xianyu said after she was a little further away from Jiangchen. I forgot. Jiangchen slapped his forehead. During this period of time, he had only cared about recuperating and cultivating. Even his brain wasn't working well. However, after he came to his senses, he suddenly had a bad premonition. Ever since the immortal emperor's tomb, his father, who was recuperating in the Thousand Harmony sect, took the opportunity to sneak away before the first mountain lord arrived. In this half a year, there was no news about him. Jiangchen was worried that his father might have borrowed immortal jade from the Ganges Bank again. And the Ganges Bank didn't dare to take the initiative to contact him. Hence, they could only use this matter as an excuse to send an invitation and wait for him to go before telling him the truth. What are you thinking about? Seeing Jiangchen covering his head with his hands and frowning, Xianyu came forward and sat beside him. She asked in a low voice. Nothing, just a sudden headache. Jiangchen took the opportunity to pull her into his arms. Jiangchen, show some respect. I am the Mountain Lord of the 9th Mountain. You are just an ordinary disciple. If this spreads out, I won't have the face to continue living in the Kunlun Celestial Mountain. Xianyu's face turned even redder. Even her body was a little hot. She could even smell the masculine scent on Jiangchen's body. It made her feel dizzy. What's wrong with that? I don't care about that. Jiangchen laughed. If you continue to be like this, I will call Wei Yu over. Seeing that nothing she said would work, Xianyu suddenly thought of her savior. Cough, cough. Jiangchen immediately let go. He didn't dare to offend Wei Yu. If you are going, bring the White Immortal King, Jian Yuan, and Huafu. With the strength of these 3, they can guarantee your safety. Xianyu covered her mouth and giggled. Of course, I will bring them. But I'm wondering if my father took immortal jade from the Ganges Bank again. Chapter 1674. Jiangchen gradually became serious. Although he had earned a lot from this trip to the immortal emperor's grave, he had to keep the top-notch immortal methods for himself. As for the other things, he hadn't run into any auctions, so he didn't have any chance to sell them. Now he was left with less than 1 billion immortal jade. Although it was a lot of money, what if his father still gave it all away like before? Then don't go. Xianyu took the invitation letter from Jiangchen and threw it aside. There's one more thing. While you were resting, the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy sent someone over. They said that as the champion of this year's sect meeting, they are very interested in meeting you. They want you to go over when you're free. Heaven and Earth Pharmacy? Jiangchen blinked. He didn't need to think to know that this was definitely the Great Elder's idea. There wasn't any other reason for calling him over. It was just to promote him to the position of young master and help them revive the glory of Tianji sect. And you just returned to the immortal world, so you might not know. This Heaven and Earth Pharmacy is the #1 Medicine King sect in the North region. They have some fame in the entire immortal world. If you can form a good relationship with them, the herbs and pills they provide will definitely not be from our Kunlun Immortal Mountain. Xianyu didn't know the situation at the sect meeting, but she still told him everything she knew. I know. Jiangchen nodded. Then are you going to the Ganges Bank, or the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy? Xianyu looked at Jiangchen and a smile appeared on her face. She knew that Jiangchen would definitely stand at the peak of the immortal world. Other people who ascended to the immortal world didn't improve as fast as Jiangchen. Ganges Bank. Jiangchen hesitated. Even if his father owed a lot of money there, he still had to pay it back. He couldn't let the people in the bank expose his father's identity. The 3 immortal kings would probably come to Kunlun Immortal Mountain at the same time, and his father would lose his life. 3 days later, Jiangchen set off from the 9th mountain. This time, he only brought Bai Xiaoyun and Bai Fingyu to the Ganges Bank. It took half a day to travel from the Kunlun Celestial Mountain to the Ganges Bank's territory. When they arrived, it was already noon. The town where the Ganges Bank was located could be said to be the most prosperous town in the entire northern region. It was also the largest trading market. Of course, there were also many private goods and underground businesses. However, when Jiangchen came last time, he only wanted to repay Wan Cheng's debt and did not pay attention to these. They found an inn to stay in. After resting for a while, Jiangchen left to scout the situation outside. Those ordinary things brought out from the immortal emperor's tomb were useless in the storage ring. Instead, they would take up space. Selling them for immortal jades was the best choice. After going out for a few rounds, Jiangchen found out what was going on. It turned out that tomorrow was the day of the establishment of the Northern Region Allied Chamber of Commerce. As the leader of the Allied Chamber of Commerce, the Ganges Bank naturally had to invite the other chambers of commerce and their distinguished guests to celebrate. At the same time, it was also to prove their strength to the other chambers of commerce so that the bank could continue to sit at the top of the Allied Chamber of Commerce. Jiangchen wandered around the town to learn more about it. Then he went back to the hostel. However, when he just entered the door, he bumped into an acquaintance. Great Elder? Looking at the familiar figure with his back facing him, Jiangchen subconsciously blurted out, Little friend Jiangchen. The familiar voice made Su Qian immediately turn his head. When he saw Jiangchen standing behind him, his originally serious expression instantly softened. Why are you here? I received an invitation from the Ganges Bank and came to join in the fun. Jiangchen casually found an excuse. You guys rest first. I have something to say to little friend Jiangchen. The great elder nodded and instructed the Qianhe sect disciple who came with him. Then, he pulled Jiangchen's hand and left the inn. In a tea house next to the inn, Jiangchen booked a private room. It could be seen that Su Qian was very happy to see Jiangchen. Although this kid had left the eastern region for a while, the news kept spreading like the wind in the eastern region. Great Elder, how is the Qianhe sect recently? Jiangchen took a sip of tea and asked. Yes, everything is normal. The great elder stroked his beard and stared at Jiangchen for a while. Then he laughed. But you, kid, since you left the eastern region, your movements are not small. I don't even need to inquire about it, and the news has spread all over the eastern region. What's the news? Jiangchen frowned slightly. It's said that you won the championship of the sect competition. With the cultivation of the 3rd level of the celestial immortal realm, you seriously injured the 6th level of the immortal realm cloud sect. It's also said that all the experts of the Kunlun Immortal Mountain were dispatched and destroyed the Black Cloud sect. The great elder said with a smile. It's really a headache. Jiangchen rubbed his head and sighed. Tell me, what's the relationship between the Black Cloud sect and the Black sect? The great elder suddenly waved his hand and an immortal force boundary wrapped the whole box. The Black Cloud sect is a subsect of the Black sect. They seem to have received the order of the Black Sect Master to attack me at the sect competition. The master of the Kunlun Immortal Mountain was angry and directly mobilized some experts to make them disappear completely in the northern region. Jiangchen would not hide these words from Su Qian. After all, the old man in front of him was the first person to tell him about the identity of the Black Sect Master. It seems that I guessed right. But the Black Sect has more than one subsect in the northern region. The Great Elder nodded. What? Jiangchen asked in surprise. When you left the eastern region, I specially sent people to follow you and protect you. I also asked them to stay in the northern region to inquire about some information. Coincidentally, in the middle of the northern region, they inquired about a big family that may have some connection with the Black Sect. I don't know if you've heard of this family. It's called the Citra family. The Great Elder explained the situation. I've never heard of it. Jiangchen shook his head. It's said that this family has a certain amount of power in the eastern part of the northern region. If you want to get rid of them, it's much more troublesome than the Black Cloud sect. The Great Elder continued. I've already planted people in this family. I estimate that in a short period of time, there will be news back. Sorry to trouble you, Great Elder. Jiangchen got up and saluted him with a fist and palm salute. There's no need to thank me. I have another news to tell you. The Great Elder waved his hand. Tianlang Mountain has been completely sealed off. The people in the sect have never come out, and no one else can enter. I'm no longer interested in this sect. Jiangchen sneered. From the very beginning, he didn't put Tianlang Mountain in his eyes. Now that they got this ending, it was entirely their own fault. Chapter 1675. After bidding farewell to the Great Elder, Jiangchen returned to the inn. In the evening, the people from the Ganges Bank arrived. Our head shopkeeper invites you. The people from the Ganges Bank knocked on the door. What's the matter? Jiangchen asked. I don't know, the head shopkeeper said to invite a person called Jiangchen. The person shook his head and didn't explain anything. Jiangchen didn't say anything and left with him. After walking out of the inn, they walked to the center of the town and saw a very majestic manor. There were many experts patrolling around and many people coming in and out of the door. Under the lead, Jiangchen walked directly to the innermost hall. Just as he walked in, the door to the hall was suddenly closed. Jiangchen was a little wary. Although the Ganges Bank was just a bank, it was the largest in the entire northern region. This was enough to prove that it was quite powerful. Moreover, who knew how many immortal lords and immortal kings had borrowed money here? Perhaps with a call of arms from the Ganges Bank, more than 10 immortal lords would immediately surround him. Of course, this was only Jiangchen's conjecture. After the door was closed, a middle-aged man holding a fan walked out from behind a screen at the end of the hall. The man was wearing a luxurious robe and had a gentle face. He didn't look dangerous. You're the head shopkeeper of the Ganges Bank? Looking at him, Jiangchen heaved a sigh of relief and asked. That's right, I'm Song Yuanjia. The man walked in front of Jiangchen and put away his fan. I didn't expect that with your current cultivation, you would be able to pay back so much money from the Wanqing Immortal Lord. Jiangchen's look became gloomy when he heard that. He said it as if he wanted to pay back the debt. If not for the fact that he didn't want his father's identity to be exposed, he wouldn't have cared at all. When he took out the 1 billion immortal jades, Jiangchen's heart was bleeding. Don't tell me my father owes you money again? Jiangchen felt a headache coming on. That's not the case. Previously, you and the Ganges Bank set a rule. Although the 10,000 vehicle immortal lord came again, I've already ordered everyone in the bank not to give him a single immortal jade. Song Yuanjia shook his head. Since you don't owe me anything, why did you give me an invitation? With my strength, I don't seem to be within the scope of your invitation. Jiangchen did not understand. When he came, even the lords of the Kunlun Celestial Mountain were not invited. He was just a disciple of the Kunlun Celestial Mountain. Why isn't it on our invitation list? Song Yuanjia smiled and said, You are the Pavilion Lord of the Prophecy Pavilion and the Alliance Lord of the Overseas Immortal Mountain Alliance. You also have the ability to pay off more than 1 billion immortal jade in one go. You are the esteemed guest that the Ganges Bank should treat seriously. Jiang Chun was speechless. After all this time, this head shopkeeper had taken him for a fool. He had given him an invitation to join the Chamber of Commerce in order to get closer to him, and asked him to borrow immortal jade from the Hunghe Bank in the future. Little brother, to tell you the truth, I called you here today because I want to buy something for you. I think you should be very interested in this. Seeing the change in Jiang Chen's expression, Song Yuanzhi stopped joking. Instead, he picked up a wooden box from the table beside him and handed it to Jiang Chen. What is it? Jiang Chen reached out to take it. Hey, you can't touch it now. The Ganges Bank has always given you both the goods and the money. You have to take out the money before I can give you the goods. Song Yuanzhi retracted his hand, leaving Jiang Chen with nothing. Sorry, I'm not interested. Jiang Chen laughed coldly. If he had the time to talk to him, he might as well go back to the inn and have a good rest. Wait, you will definitely be interested in what I have here. It's related to the Black Sect. Don't you want to know? Song Yuanzhi didn't expect his attitude to change so quickly. I'm not interested. Jiang Chen waved his hand, turned around, and left the hall. Interesting, really interesting. Song Yuanzhi wasn't angry. Instead, he laughed and shook his head as he looked at Jiang Chen's back. In order to obtain this information, he had sent out all the intelligence personnel of the Ganges Bank. He had even lost people from 2 halls. That was how he managed to obtain this information without being exposed. He had just kept Jiang Chen in suspense and wanted to see if he was interested. He hadn't expected Jiang Chen to leave immediately. Head shopkeeper, this kid is too much. We lost more than half of our intelligence personnel for this information. Jiang Chen had just left when an old man walked out from the shadows. This was the old man who had been sitting in the room when Jiang Chen had first come to pay Wan Cheng's debt. Jiang Chen had gone to inquire about the black school. It's okay. This information will belong to him sooner or later. Song Yuanzhi interrupted the old man and touched his abdomen. There was a scar on his abdomen that connected to his shoulder. After walking out of the manor, Jiang Chen prepared to leave the town. At first, he thought it was something important. He didn't expect that they would want to sell the information to him. The asking price of the Ganges Bank was at least 2 billion immortal jade. Although he was rich now, this wasn't the way to spend money. Moreover, the Kunlun Celestial Mountain and the Qianhe sect had found out about the Black Sect. He also had the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy behind him. It didn't matter if he got the information from the Ganges Bank or not. After returning to the inn, Jiang Chen went to bed early. The next day, before dawn, there were noises coming from outside. Bai Xiaoyun pushed open the door to Jiang Chen's room and pulled Jiang Chen up from the bed. You're already a heaven immortal. You don't need to sleep at all. What's that noise outside? Jiang Chen rubbed his eyes. Everyone in the inn has left. They said that the Chamber of Commerce will be held at 8 o'clock. The Ganges Bank will provide different benefits based on each person's spending. Little junior brother, you paid off more than 1 billion immortal jade last time. The Ganges Bank should give you some good stuff. Bai Xiaoyun sat beside Jiang Chen's bed and said excitedly. I'm not interested in that. Jiang Chen shook his head. Big senior brother, if you want to join in the fun, then go. I'll rest here. Okay, then I'll go with Phone Yu. Bai Xiaoyun didn't force him. Seeing Bai Xiaoyun leave, Jiang Chen lay back on the bed. After the Chamber of Commerce ends, he would meet with Grand Elder Su Qian and return to the Kunlun Celestial Mountain. With a yawn, Jiang Chen fell asleep again. The commotion outside didn't affect him at all. As for the information about the Black Sect, Jiang Chen wasn't interested in it. He might as well keep those immortal jades in case he needed them. Chapter 1676. It was almost noon. Jiang Chen woke up from his nap. He left the inn and found a decent tavern. He ordered 2 pots of liquor and a plate of wild beef. Do you guys think that Heaven Perfusion Bank is really here to cause trouble? It seems so. I heard that even the young master of Heaven Perfusion Bank has come personally with the experts of his family. I guess they are here to snatch the position of the leader of Eternal River Bank. It's going to be difficult. That Wei Qing is just a good-for-nothing. They might as well send their servants instead of him. The people in the tavern began to discuss among themselves when they sat down to have their meal. Jiang Chen didn't care about it. He just treated it as a joke. Asterisk bang! Asterisk a loud sound was heard. The door of the tavern was forcefully kicked down, and a few people who were drinking here were pushed down. A young man in brocade robe came in with his hands behind his back and stepped on the door plank. He didn't seem to care that there were 3 or 4 people under the door plank. These people were shouting at the top of their lungs. Take these people out of here! How dare they talk about this young master here? I think they are all tired of living. The one who came was none other than the young master of Heaven Perfusion Bank, Wei Qing. He happened to pass by and heard the people talking about him, so he rushed in. Most of the people who were drinking in the tavern were the people who worked in Eternal River Bank. Some of them were ordinary people and some were just immortals. They didn't dare to fight back or shout in front of Wei Qing. They could only be taken out by the servants who came in. Brat, didn't you hear that? Get out of here now! When the owner of the tavern was taken out, Wei Qing saw Jiang Chen, who was still sitting in the corner of the tavern, drinking and eating meat. He suddenly became angry and shouted at Jiang Chen. You guys do your thing. I'll eat mine. Let's not interfere with each other, Jiang Chen said in a low voice. Ai brat, do you know who this young master is? I'll count to 5. If you don't come out, don't blame me for sending people in to catch you. As soon as Wei Qing's voice faded, 2 half-step immortal venerables behind him stood out. So noisy. Jiang Chen frowned slightly, feeling somewhat disgusted. This young master has never seen such an arrogant person before. Seeing that Jiang Chen was still unmoved, Wei Qing immediately ordered, Go and bring him out. I want to see who he is. Yes, young master. The 2 half-step immortal venerables walked into the pub together. Just as they arrived behind Jiang Chen abruptly stood up. This caught the 2 of them off guard. They hurriedly prepared for battle. In the immortal world, there might be some very powerful seniors who deliberately disguised themselves as young people. Therefore, they thought that since Jiang Chen could sit here and eat calmly, he must have some confidence. However, what they didn't expect was that Jiang Chen only finished the beef on the plate and the wine in the pot. He stood up and wanted to leave. Under the gaze of the 2 half-step immortal venerables, Jiang Chen walked out of the pub. Brat, you better stand there. Wei Qing hadn't seen such an arrogant person for a long time. Given his identity as the young master of Heaven Province Bank, even an immortal venerable would have to respectfully address him as young master Wei Qing. However, this brat in front of him looked like an ordinary person. How could he not put him in his eyes? Are you talking to me? Jiang Chen frowned. He had never thought that he would encounter such an unexpected calamity while having a meal here. Of course, I'm talking to you. Why are you ignoring me? Wei Qing asked angrily. It seems like you don't know anything. Then, this young master will let you know that there are some people you can't afford to provoke. Oh? How do you want me to know? Jiang Chen raised his eyebrows. Bring him to my inn. Since you dare to disrespect me, you will have to pay the price. Wei Qing pointed at Jiang Chen. As soon as his voice faded, the 2 half-step immortal venerables immediately stepped forward, one on the left and one on the right, preparing to grab Jiang Chen's arm. Just as they approached, a powerful wave of immortal force suddenly erupted from Jiang Chen's body, catching the 2 half-step immortal venerables off guard and forcing them to take a few steps back and sit on the ground. Heaven immortal? Wei Qing was somewhat astonished. He was merely a true immortal who relied on the power of his family to be so arrogant. Now that he saw that Jiang Chen's strength was far stronger than his, he was somewhat frightened, but after regaining his composure, he rubbed his face and shouted, How dare a mere heaven immortal cultivator act so arrogantly in front of this young master? The two half-step immortal venerables climbed up from the ground and charged at Jiang Chen once more. Those who came out of the inn shook their heads incessantly. They all felt that it wasn't worth it for Jiang Chen. If he had followed Wei Qing's instructions from the beginning, he would at most be scolded or beaten a few times. Now that he had openly opposed Wei Qing just because he had the cultivation base of a heaven immortal, he would definitely suffer Wei Qing's crazy revenge. He might even lose his life. Everyone stop! Just as Jiang Chen was about to mobilize his immortal force, an old voice was heard from not far away. While the two half-step immortal venerables were still in a daze, a dozen people rushed over. Standing in front of them was Su Qian. Great Elder Su? Wei Qing put away the arrogant expression from before. Although the Bank of Heaven province had a great reputation in northern and eastern domain, he knew that Su Qian's strength was comparable to the three immortal kings. Once he offended Su Qian, it wouldn't be easy to clean up the mess. Young Master Wei, what are you doing? Su Qian glanced at Jiang Chen and asked with a smile. Some people in the inn are bad-mouthing me. I want to teach them a lesson, but I didn't expect that this brat didn't take my words seriously. I'm going to punish him. Wei Qing chuckled, cupping his fists as he spoke. Take your men and leave this place. Su Qian waved his sleeve. Ah? Wei Qing was somewhat absent-minded. He didn't know why Su Qian interfered in this matter. In his impression, Qianhe sect had always been an independent sect. They wouldn't make friends with any other sect, nor would they go against any other sect. They wouldn't meddle in other people's business and cause trouble. But now, Su Qian was asking him to leave. Didn't that mean that he was going to meddle in other people's business? Ah? Don't you understand what I'm saying? Su Qian frowned and said in a low voice. Of course I understand. Since Great Elder Su Qian wants me to leave, I'll leave now. Wei Qing didn't dare to refuse. He immediately signaled his men with his eyes. The two half-step immortal venerables followed behind him and left quickly. Without the strength of an immortal king, offending the great elder of Qianhe sect was equivalent to risking one's life. Chapter 1677. Thank you, Great Elder Su! Thank you, Great Elder Su! Those who came out of the pub cupped their fists gratefully at Su Qian. They knew that if it wasn't for the sudden arrival of the people of Qianhe sect, they wouldn't have a good ending. You're welcome, Su Qian said cheerfully. After thanking Su Qian, the group of people quickly left. They were afraid that once Su Qian left, the people of the Heavenly Province Bank would come back and vent their anger on them. How did you offend Tianfu Bank? Su Qian asked with a frown after they left. He found that Jiang Chen was indeed a troublemaker. If he didn't see him for a minute, he would provoke a new opponent. And these opponents weren't weak. That's really not my problem. Jiang Chen smiled bitterly and explained. I was just drinking and eating meat when those people were talking about Tianfu Bank. That's why I was dragged into it. It's better to be careful. Although Tianfu Bank's strength and appeal aren't as strong as Hing River Bank, it's still a well-known existence in the Merchant Association of Northern Domain. Su Qian didn't care too much about it. Thank you, Great Elder, for helping me out. Jiang Chen smiled and cupped his fists. If it wasn't for Su Qian's sudden arrival, he would have already fought the two half-step immortal venerables. You don't have to thank me for such a small matter. Su Qian smiled. By the way, why didn't you attend the banquet? I heard that the head shopkeeper of Hung River Bank personally met you yesterday. Logically speaking, you should be their VIP. The head shopkeeper asked me to go over because he wanted to sell me some information about Dark Sect. Their price was too high, so I refused. Jiang Chen shook his head and sighed. He didn't have a good impression of Hung River Bank. Not only did he return the money his father borrowed from them, he even gave them an additional 200 million immortal jades as interest. In terms of information gathering, the Ganges Bank is indeed more accurate than us and the Kunlun Celestial Mountain. After all, they rely on borrowing and selling information for a living. But if it's too expensive, there's no need to sell it. Su Qian agreed with Jiang Chen's words. With those few 100 million immortal jades, he might as well buy some pills, immortal techniques, or information. Who knew if the information the Ganges Bank found out would be useful? Didn't the great elder attend the banquet? Jiang Chen asked curiously as he walked side by side with Su Qian. I didn't come here this time to participate in the wine party, Su Qian said in a low voice. Oh? Jiang Chen raised his eyebrows. Thousands of years ago, the Qianhe sect owed the Ganges Bank a favor and promised to help them unconditionally. This time, the head shopkeeper of the Ganges Bank contacted me personally and asked me to support him, so I brought almost all the protectors of the sect with me. Seeing that there was no one around, Su Qian told Jiang Chen about the matter. Is the Tianfu Bank preparing to attack the Ganges Bank? Jiang Chen asked as he recalled what he had heard in the tavern. That's right. These years, the Bank of Heaven's province has been developing very quickly, and there are faint signs that it will surpass the Bank of Ganges. This time, the Bank of Heaven's province intends to directly suppress the Bank of Ganges and take over the leading position of the Chamber of Commerce. The great elder nodded. Businessmen are really after profits. Jiang Chen sighed. If the Tianfu Bank is really preparing to attack, the Qianhe sect will stand on the side of the Ganges Bank. When the time comes, we'll solve the problem and ask the head shopkeeper if he can give you the information. The great elder patted Jiang Chen's shoulder. That would be the best. Jiang Chen nodded vigorously. Wei Qing, who had left, returned to the inn. Although it was called an inn, he was the only one living here. The entrance was guarded by the servants of the Heavenly Province Bank. After he returned, he sat on the bed in an aggressive manner. He even scolded the servant girl who brought him food. What happened to Big Brother? A girl who looked to be about 16 or 17 years old with a slender waist and delicate features came forward. When she heard the shouting inside, she carefully asked the servant at the door. Miss, young master met a young man outside and suffered a loss, so he came back to vent. It's better if you don't go in first. The servant bowed, not daring to raise his head to look at the girl. This girl was the young miss of the Tianfu Bank and Wei Qing's biological sister, Wei Xiaoqiao. How could Big Brother suffer a loss? Xiaoqiao blinked her innocent eyes. In her opinion, Big Brother had always been arrogant and domineering. Everyone had to give him some face for the sake of the family. He had even suffered a loss at the hands of a young man. Young Master was about to teach him a lesson, but he didn't expect Great Elder Su Qian of the Qianhe sect to come and chase young Master away. The servant continued to explain. I'll go in and take a look. Xiaoqiao was worried that something would happen to Big Brother, so she walked past the servant into the room. Didn't I say that no one is allowed to come in? Do you want to die? Hearing the footsteps, Wei Qing threw the teacup in his hand at the door and scolded loudly. Big Brother, it's me. Xiaoqiao dodged, dodging the teacup that was being thrown at her chest. Then, she lightly walked in front of him. Big Brother, why is that Thousand Harmony Sect's Great Elder Su Qian here? Could it be because... Seeing that it was his sister standing in front of him, Wei Qing took a few deep breaths and suppressed the agitation in his heart. He said, You guessed right. Those people from the Ganges Bank brought the Qianhe sect here to help. They want to use this to intimidate us. Then should we tell Father that the Qianhe sect is one of the top sects in the eastern region? The people we brought here don't seem to be a match for them. When it came to serious matters, Xu Qiao's originally pure eyes were filled with wisdom. No need. You know the situation in the family better than I do. I don't know how many pairs of eyes are watching me now. It wasn't easy for me to snatch this opportunity. If I ask the family for help, I'm afraid our Wei family will be chased out of the Tianfu Bank. Wei Qing sighed heavily. Although the Wei family was the master of the Heavenly Province Bank, that was a matter of the past. There were people in the bank who weren't part of the Wei family, and those people were scheming to drive the Wei family out of the Heavenly Province Bank. Wei Qing came this time to suppress the Ganges Bank and seize the position of the leader of the Northern Region Chamber of Commerce. This way, the Wei family could eliminate the dissidents and continue to control the Tianfu Bank. But Xiaoqiao was still a little worried. No buts. The Chamber of Commerce has a total of 7 days. We'll find an opportunity sooner or later. Wei Qing interrupted her. Moreover, our Tianfu Bank knows many experts. I'll send them a message and ask them to come and help. Xiao Qiao didn't have anything else to say. Chapter 1678. After brushing Wei Xiaoqiao off with a few words, Wei Qing immediately gathered a few of his most trusted subordinates. Holding his jade tablet, he left the town and went to the place where the few immortal monarchs and immortal kings lived, asking for their help. If Qian Hisek didn't ask for help, not only would they not be able to take away Ganges Bank's position in the Chamber of Commerce, they might even die here. Afternoon. Bai Xiaoyun brought Bai Fingyu to Jiangchen and explained the situation in the town to him. It's sealed? Jiangchen was drinking tea. After hearing this, his expression changed slightly. But he already understood the situation when he was talking with Su Qian, so he wasn't too surprised. That's right, there's chaos in the city now. There are rumors that someone called Tianfu Bank wants to take this opportunity to attack the Ganges Bank, and the Ganges Bank is already prepared to catch them all in one fell swoop. Bai Xiaoyun nodded and explained the situation outside in one go. Let's watch the show. Jiangchen spread his hands. Master, let's leave this place. The whole town is very chaotic now. Although you and Marshal Uncle are very strong, we don't need to get involved in this mess. Bai Fingyu walked to Jiangchen and said softly. Although she said that, the reason she wanted to leave the most was to go back and see Hikari. After these few months of interaction, she completely treated Hikari as her own sister. If not for Jiang Chen's objection, she would definitely have brought the little girl here. I've decided not to leave the town. I'll stay in this inn for the time being. Jiang Chen shook his head and denied. He was still thinking about the news in the manager's hands. Fingyu, don't worry. With me and Jiang Chen here, we'll definitely protect your safety. Bai Xiaoyun straightened her back. As an immortal king, she was one of the strongest people in the town. She had enough confidence to protect the people around her. Qian Hisek's great elder Su Qian is also here. With them here, we won't be in danger. Jiang Chen stood up and poured the tea away. I'm not leaving because there's something I want in the Ganges Bank. The more chaotic it is, the higher my chances of getting it. You want to? Bai Xiaoyun revealed a smirk, as he immediately guessed what Jiangchen was thinking. Eldest apprentice brother, you know me best. Jiangchen shook his head and pretended to be a scholar. Just as Bai Xiaoyun had said, the entire town was completely sealed off. Everyone who wanted to leave the town was stopped by the people from the Ganges Bank. Those who had a cultivation base were fine. They knew that no matter what they encountered, they had the ability to survive. However, the ordinary people who worked in the Ganges Bank or lived in the city were terrified. After knowing that they couldn't leave the city, they retreated to their homes and didn't dare to go out. At this time, other than the Heavenly Heaven Bank, the upper echelons of the other banks were all gathered in the manager's manor. The manor was guarded by 3 layers of people, and there were even spies hidden in the shadows. This was to prevent Wei Qing from sending people to investigate. Manager Zhou, why did you seal off the town? As soon as he sat down, someone couldn't help but stand up and ask. Are you trying to take advantage of the banquet to capture all of us? Haha, what are you talking about? His words made the great elder laugh out loud, and even tears came out of his eyes. Then why did you seal off the town? Now that the banquet is over, please open the gates of the town and let us leave. Otherwise, we'll only suspect that you're up to no good. The owner of another bank said loudly. Everyone calm down. Ever since I, Song Yuanjia, established the Ganges Bank, I've never done anything to my peers. This Chamber of Commerce was formed under my suggestion. If I kill you today, the one who loses is the Ganges Bank. The manager pressed his hands together, signaling for them to quiet down. They thought about it carefully. A few people felt that Song Yuanjia's words made sense. In the entire North Region Chamber of Commerce, other than the Ganges Bank and the Tianfu Bank, the other banks were just there to make up the numbers. After hundreds of years, they had received many benefits from Song Yuanjia, and Song Yuanjia had never complained about it. He would even try his best to satisfy their requests. Manager Zhou, please tell us the truth. Why did you seal off the town, and why didn't you invite young Master Wei Qing of the Tianfu Bank? We really can't understand your way of doing things, a white-haired old man said in a hoarse voice. Although he looked like half of his body was buried in the ground, his eyes weren't turbid and even emitted a bright light. How could anyone who could establish a bank be ordinary? Well, since you want to know so much, I'll tell you the truth. Looking at them, Song Yuanjia finally relaxed. He took a sip of tea and said lightly, according to the information I received, the Tianfu Bank is preparing to take advantage of this banquet to attack us. In order to self-destruct, I can only seal off the town. I hope you can understand. What did you say? Impossible, the Tianfu Bank is also a part of our Chamber of Commerce. Why would they attack you? Manager Zhou, you can't say such things. Our Chamber of Commerce has always been of one heart and one mind. We can't have internal strife. As soon as these words came out, all the presidents of the Chambers of Commerce stood up in surprise. Of one heart and one mind? The smile on Song Yuanjia's face suddenly disappeared. He tore open his coat, revealing his strong muscles. However, there was a scar from his shoulder to his navel, which added a bit of fierceness to his gentle appearance. Seeing this scar, everyone shifted their gazes and sat down. I didn't expect to hear this from you. 600 years ago, I was killed by a traitor. When I was dying, I asked for your help, but you didn't even send a servant. If Elder Lin Baichao of the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy hadn't found me, I'm afraid my bones would have been hard and eroded by the wind. Song Yuanjia sneered as he pointed at the scar on his body. Cough, cough, Manager Zhou, this is a matter of hundreds of years ago. Let's not bring up the old scores. Song Yuanjia's words made them blush, but there were still some thick-skinned people who avoided Song Yuanjia's gaze and spoke. Today, I'll leave my words here. If anyone dares to leave the town, I'll automatically regard them as an ally of the Tianfu Bank. I won't be lenient. Song Yuanjia reached out and slid his hand in front of his chest. A robe made of immortal power covered his scar. Alas! Song Yuanjia's firm tone made them lose all hope. Chapter 1679. I've already said what I wanted to say. You're on your own now. Song Yuanjia snorted coldly. If not for the fact that this group of people didn't show any abnormalities, he would definitely have dealt with them all. Everyone looked at each other, and no one dared to speak. Even if all the people present were to add up their own banks, they would still not be as strong as the Ganges Bank. Moreover, if Song Yuanjia raised his arm and called for help, who knew how many experts would come to help? It wasn't just this group of people who were trapped. Wei Qing of the Tianfu Bank and his subordinates were also trapped. At this moment, in the inn, Wei Qing gathered everyone in front of him. The town has already been closed. Song Yuanjia most likely already knows about our plan. When will that lord arrive? Wei Qing looked at his confidant standing in front of him, and asked. The lord he was referring to was his confidence in dealing with the Ganges Bank. As long as he arrived, the Ganges Bank would be turned into a pile of ruins in an instant. He'll probably arrive tonight. The subordinate calculated the time. Remember, as long as that lord arrives in the town, we will immediately take action. Wei Qing nodded and gave the order. This was their only chance. If they couldn't obtain the position of the head of the Chamber of Commerce, they couldn't hold the majority of the debt in the northern region in their hands. They wouldn't have the qualifications to deal with the people in the bank who wanted to get rid of them. The town gradually calmed down. After the ordinary people knew that they couldn't leave, they all chose to hide. Dusk fell. Just as Jiang Chun was preparing to sleep, a very vigorous and fierce aura instantly enveloped the entire town. He even felt some pressure on his chest and found it difficult to breathe. Xian Jun is here. As soon as Jiang Chun detected this familiar aura, he made this judgment almost instantly. Jun, your brother! A few seconds after Jiang Chun sensed it, Bai Xiaoyun rushed in like a stream of light. He pulled Bai Fingyu's arm and stood in front of Jiangqin, then closed the door heavily. Is it immortal King Xianjun? Bai Fingyu's hair was a little messy from the wind. That's right, he's here. Bai Xiaoyun nodded. If it wasn't for Xianjun, he wouldn't be so anxious. Little junior brother, is Xianjun here to help the Ganges Bank or the Tianfu Bank or to cause trouble for you? I don't know. Jiangqin shrugged. This is bad. If they're really coming for you, I won't be able to protect you with my strength. Bai Xiaoyun had an anxious expression. He wasn't Xianjun's match, and once he was defeated, then Jiangqin would definitely fall into a dangerous situation. It's fine. The people from the Thousand Harmonies sect are here. Jiangqin was only a little surprised that Xianjun was here, but he wasn't afraid at all. Right, with Grand Elder Su Qian here, I can be at ease. Bai Xiaoyun heavily exhaled a mouthful of turbid air, and her entire body relaxed. However, this bank does have some ability to actually be able to invite immortal King Xianjun here. At this moment, Xianjun stood in the air above the city. He lowered his head and looked disdainfully. Everyone in the city was within his perception. After sweeping his gaze, he sensed Jiangqin and Bai Xiaoyun. However, there was one person whose cultivation seemed to be shrouded in fog, making him unable to see through at all. Xianjun was a little surprised. To be able to give him such a feeling, there were probably only 2 other immortal kings in the entire immortal world. Could it be that this was a hidden expert who wasn't weaker than them? This wasn't impossible. After all, the immortal world was incomparably vast. Although the 3 of them were publicly recognized as the strongest immortal kings, who could be sure that there wasn't someone stronger than them in the immortal world? At the very least, even if the person in the city wasn't as strong as him, the difference wouldn't be too great. Immortal King Xianjun! Wei Qing also felt the majestic aura, and immediately ran out and shouted into the air. Wei Qing, why did you call me here? Immortal King Xianjun slowly descended and asked with a slight frown. Back then, your Heaven Province Bank helped me collect the Immortal King inner core of the Flame Phoenix race. I promise you that no matter what, I would help you once. But you have to know that after this, there will be no more connections between us. I know, Immortal King Xianjun, this is the annual gathering of our North Region Chamber of Commerce. I didn't expect the Ganges Bank to take advantage of this opportunity to get rid of us. Now that all the city gates have been closed, we really have no choice but to ask for your help. Wei Qing cried with snot and tears. Oh? Ganges Bank? Xianjun was a little speechless. The Ganges Bank could be said to be one of the largest forces in the North region. Even he didn't dare to provoke them easily. But after all, they had an agreement. If he went back now, his reputation in the immortal world would be tarnished in the future. That's right. Immortal King Xianjun, please save us. The 12 lives of our Heaven Province Bank are in your hands. Seeing Xianjun hesitate, Wei Qing directly knelt on the ground with a plop. What do you want me to do? Xianjun frowned. Immortal King Xianjun, please kill all the people of the Ganges Bank. Only in this way can we prevent future troubles and our Heaven Province Bank won't suffer from their revenge. Wei Qing said with cupped fists. I have an agreement first. Now I naturally have to help you. Leave this matter to me. Xianjun thought for a moment and agreed. Then, he closed his eyes and used his immortal power to sense. When he sensed the location of the people of the Ganges Bank, he prepared to rush over. Immortal King Xianjun, please wait! In an instant, an old voice sounded. A figure rushed out from the city and blocked Xianjun's path. Xianjun stopped. He knew that this was the expert whose true cultivation he couldn't sense just now. Facing a cultivator who was similar to him, he didn't dare to underestimate him. Who are you? Xianjun looked at Su Qian. The great elder of the Qianhe sect. I was entrusted by the Ganges Bank to escort you. Su Qian had his hands behind his back. Facing Xianjun, he didn't lose at all. In fact, his calm appearance made Xianjun somewhat fearful. Su Qian? Xianjun took a deep breath. He finally remembered who the person in front of him was. Back then, before the immortal emperor's tomb, he brought his disciples to seek revenge on Jiangchen. It was this person and the first mountain master of the Kunlun Immortal Mountain who stopped him. He didn't expect that enemies would meet on a narrow road. That's me. Su Qian chuckled. Immortal King Xianjun, we haven't seen each other for a while. Why don't we ignore these mundane matters? We won't help either of us. Let's go to the tea house below to have some tea. How about that? Su Qian, go back. I've never had any grudges with your Qianhe sect. Previously, you've already protected Jiangchen. I've also taken a step back. Don't meddle in today's matter. Xianjun waved his hand and said. Chapter 1680. No, I was entrusted by someone, so I naturally have to solve this matter. Could it be that immortal King Xianjun can turn around and go back now? The great elder shook his head with a smile. Then let me test your strength today. Xianjun had never received such a provocation before. Inside the town, two vast immortal powers condensed in the air. Many people completely forgot about the danger and ran out of their hiding places, ready to feast their eyes. Immortal kings with such strength, let alone seeing them fight, they usually didn't even have the chance to see them. Jiangchen and Bai Shaoyun stood side by side. Bai Fengyu, who was at the side, held his arm tightly, looking very afraid. I'm afraid Great Elder Su Qian is not a match for Xianjun. Jiangchen raised his head and looked at the sky. He could feel the immortal power fluctuations emanating from their bodies. He frowned slightly and spoke in a worried tone. He's not a match for them, but it's impossible for them to fight to the death. These two people are here to help. Moreover, even if Xianjun can kill Great Elder Su Qian, he will definitely be seriously injured. He might even become an ordinary person in the future. Bai Shaoyun continued. That's right. Jiangchen nodded in agreement. In the air, just as everyone was preparing to watch the fight, a wave of energy erupted from Xianjun and Su Qian's bodies at the same time. Soon after, a barrier was formed and enveloped the two of them. Immortal kings with such strength, once they fought, it would definitely cause the mountains to collapse and the earth to collapse. No one present would be able to escape. The two of them were not fighting to the death, but only to determine the victor. There was no need to make it so serious. Sigh. However, to those ordinary people who didn't know anything, it was indeed disappointing. I'm afraid Great Elder Su Qian isn't a match for immortal King Xianjun, head shopkeeper. Why don't we take advantage of this opportunity to control those people from the Heavenly Province Bank? Someone stood beside Song Yuanjia and said in a low voice. Then don't just stand there, hurry up and deal with it. Song Yuanjia didn't think about it and immediately said. Also, let all the experts in the bank move out. I think the Heavenly Province Bank definitely won't only find Xianjun as a helper. Understood. Under Song Yuanjia's orders, a dozen immortal venerables and several immortal monarchs rushed to the inn where the people from the Heavenly Province Bank were staying. At the same time, more than 10 immortal venerables and several immortal monarchs contacted by the Bank of Heaven Province had also arrived at the entrance of the town. They directly broke through the guards outside and rushed inside. Almost instantly, the masters of the Tianfu Bank and the Ganges Bank clashed. The battle between an immortal sovereign and an immortal monarch was enough to destroy this town. The ordinary people, who were regretting not being able to see the battle between the immortal kings, were all scared out of their wits when they felt the biting cold immortal energy fluctuations spreading out. They rushed towards the hiding places that they had prepared in advance. Compared to them, Jiangchen and the other two were calmer. Bai Shaoyun directly mobilized her immortal energy, forming an immortal energy barrier around the three of them. She sat on a rock, crossed her legs, and rested her chin on her hands. She looked at the battlefield not far away and sighed. I have to say, it's been a long time since I've seen such a scene. I didn't expect to encounter such a situation at a banquet. Jiangchen also felt a little emotional, but now wasn't the time to watch the fight. It was time to do serious business, After saying this, Jiang Chen glanced at Bai Xiaoyun. Bai Xiaoyun immediately reacted. Fin Yu, follow behind us. Don't get separated. After confirming with his eyes, Jiang Chen immediately got up and rushed to the manor where Song Yuanzhi lived. Behind him, Bai Xiaoyun followed. Although Bai Fingyu didn't understand why, she still chose to follow Jiang Chen unconditionally. This was the only thing she had to do after coming to the immortal world. A few minutes later, the three of them stood at the entrance of the manor. Yesterday, there were still many guards standing guard here, but now they had all left to deal with the people from the Bank of Heaven province. The entire manor was empty and there was no one guarding it. Junior brother, do you know where it is? Bai Xiaoyun spread out her immortal energy. After confirming that there was no one around, she asked. Maybe it was put away. Jiang Chen shook his head. Let's go in first. Bai Xiaoyun removed the barrier and walked inside. The three of them entered the usually heavily guarded Ganges Bank's manor. As soon as they entered, the three of them immediately spread out and carried out a carpet search. Jiang Chen went to the place where he saw Song Yuanzhi yesterday. Tables, chairs, benches, corners of cabinets, everything that could be seen was carefully searched. Outside, those immortal venerables and immortal monarchs were still fighting. In the whole town, half of the area had turned into ruins. There were also many ordinary people who were in hiding who were hit by the attacks and ended up with serious injuries or even death. But now, no one went back to care about them. Senior brother, I found it! Jiang Chen searched the main hall and finally found a box on a wooden shelf that was exactly the same as the one in Song Yuanzhi's hand yesterday. He immediately spread out a wisp of immortal energy with his voice. After receiving Jiang Chen's news, Bai Xiaoyun and Bai Fingyu rushed over. Jiang Chen opened the box and saw a note inside. The content of the note was very simple. There was only a short line of words. This black sect master actually has 10 subsects in the East region and the North region? Jiang Chen was a little surprised. The Black Cloud sect that he had previously dealt with and the Citra family that Great Elder Su Qian had inquired about were all in the North region. In other words, in the North region, there were still 8 forces that belonged to the Black Sect Master that had not been discovered, and in the East region, there were 10. This Ganges Bank is not very good. There's only this, but there are no names of those sections. The information is completely worthless. Bai Xiaoyun glanced at it and turned her head to the side. It's not easy to get this information. Jiang Chen did not feel much. After all, he had met the Black Sect Master so many times and did not even know what he looked like. To be able to know that this person was hiding something from him was definitely at the peak level. With this kind of information, they still want to cheat you of your money. This Ganges Bank is probably too poor. Bai Xiaoyun spat, looked around, and directly put a vase on the table into her storage ring. Martial Ant. Bai Fingyu's face stiffened. We have worked hard to come here, so we should at least get some reward. We can't just go back like this. Bai Xiaoyun chuckled, and as she spoke, she took away all the other things on the table. Cough, cough. Pay attention to your image. With Bai Fingyu beside him, Jiang Chen held back. Chapter 1681. After taking these things from Song Yuanzhi's residence, the three of them immediately walked out of the manor. In the town, dozens of experts were still fighting. Nearly half of the people living here had already died. Before they died, they didn't even have the chance to fight back or hide. Under the attacks of the immortal venerables and immortal monarchs, the places where they hid were destroyed like dry weeds and rotten wood. Did you catch them? Song Yuanzhi led his subordinates and surrounded the inn. Yes. The subordinate nodded and waved his hand. Wei Qing, Wei Xiaoqiao, and the people of Tianfu Bank were escorted out by the experts of Ganges Bank. Looking at Song Yuanzhi, Wei Qing snorted coldly. Young Master Wei, look at how chaotic it is outside. If you continue to stay in the inn and something happens to you, I won't be able to explain it to your father. Song Yuanzhi smiled faintly, but anyone could see the hidden ruthlessness under his smile. Song Yuanjia, you don't have to say these words. Wei Qing spat on the ground. Invite young Master Wei and young Miss Wei to stay in the manor. When the town is safe, send them away. Song Yuanjia didn't take his words seriously at all. Under his orders, the people of Tianfu Bank were brought to the manor. Although Song Yuanjia wanted to kill them, he did a good job on the surface. Especially now that the people of the other banks were in the town, if he made a move now, the news would definitely spread. Only when everyone left, and only Ganji's bank was left in the town, would it be the best time to make a move. As long as his people didn't spread the news, even if the people of Tianfu Bank came to ask in the future, he would tell them that he let them go after the crisis was resolved. As for why there was no news, it had nothing to do with him. Head shopkeeper, the manor seems to have been ransacked. A few of his subordinates sat down to rest and soon found that something was wrong. The bottles and other things on the table that had been there for hundreds of years were now gone. Who would come here? Song Yuanjia was a little surprised. Could it be Wei Qing's subordinate? The experts of Ganji's bank were all on guard. Relax, there's no one here. Song Yuanjia was a 9th-level immortal venerable. He could even sense an immortal monarch. At this moment, he didn't sense anything wrong in the manor. The chaos in the town. This lasted for nearly 2 days. Those immortal venerables and immortal monarchs continued to exchange blows. At the top of the town, the barrier was also broken. Buzz! 2 wind-breaking sounds rang out. Xian Jun and Su Qian flashed out of the barrier. They retreated several hundred steps in midair before stabilizing their figures. Both of their auras fluctuated a little. As expected of one of the 3 great immortal kings, Su Qian clutched his chest. In the barrier, he had already used all his skills, but no matter how he fought, he was always at a disadvantage. There were even a few times when he would have been killed in the barrier if he had not reacted in time. You're not bad either. You were able to exchange hundreds of blows with me. Xian Jun's hair was disheveled, and he no longer looked like an expert. Even his robes were torn, and there were wounds on his arms. Immortal King Xian Jun, why don't we both take a step back? After catching his breath, Su Qian gradually recovered a little. I hope to fight with you again in the future. Looking down, Xian Jun waved his hand and his figure instantly disappeared in midair. He had only come here to help. Now that he had blocked an immortal king who was not weaker than him, he had already done what he needed to do. As for other things, he would not care at all, and it was not within his jurisdiction. Phew! Seeing him leave, Su Qian let out a heavy breath. The moment he heaved a sigh of relief, his aura rapidly weakened. In the end, his figure staggered and directly fell from the sky. Grand Elder! When the few protectors of the Qianhe sect who were fighting below saw this, they immediately repelled the opponent in front of them and leaped forward to catch the falling Su Qian. Xian Jun is indeed worthy of being one of the 3 great immortal kings. I'm not his match. The Grand Elder held the protector's shoulders with both hands and sighed deeply as he said helplessly. Grand Elder was able to block Xian Jun and fight with him for a day and a night. I'm afraid there aren't many people in the entire immortal world who can do that. The 2 protectors looked at each other and immediately retreated, bringing Su Qian to a safe place. After putting Su Qian down and looking at the experts who were rushing over again, the 2 protectors once again urged the immortal power in their bodies to catch up. Xian Jun rushed out of the town and stopped hundreds of miles away from the town. Humph! Xian Jun groaned and pressed one hand on his chest, suppressing the blood that was about to enter his mouth. At the same time, his other hand quickly formed a seal and then patted the top of his head. A gentle light rose from the soles of his feet and slowly healed the injuries in his body. In the battle with Su Qian just now, he did not hold back. Although he suppressed it, he was also injured. Qianhe sect Grand Elder Su Qian. Xian Jun exhaled a mouthful of turbid air and said indifferently, I really didn't expect that a small Qianhe sect in the eastern region would have such an expert overseeing it. Feeling that the situation in his body was getting worse and worse, Xian Jun looked around and found a more secluded place. He sat cross-legged in the middle and began to heal his injuries. The gentle light enveloped his entire body. Not only was it healing his injuries, but it was also firmly locking his immortal power fluctuations to prevent them from spreading outside. Another day passed. Those immortal supremacies were either dead or injured. The immortal monarchs were in a better situation, but they were also injured. After sensing that Xian Jun had left, these experts who had been called over by the Bank of Heaven province immediately rushed out of the town. They were only here to help. They were not stupid enough to fall to the point of dying here just to help Wei Qing. Ha ha ha! It seems that it's still not that good. Standing in the middle of the manor, and sensing that all the immortal monarchs had left, Song Yuanzhi could not help but laugh loudly. Head shopkeeper, including immortal King Xian Jun, all the experts invited by the Bank of Heaven province have left. His subordinate stood beside Song Yuanzhi and said in a low voice, "Pass down my orders. Open the town and let the people from the other banks leave. As for the Bank of Heaven province, other than Wei Qing and Wei Xiaoqiao, everyone else is to be sent to the secret prison. I want to let them know what the consequences of offending their superiors are." Song Yuanzhi clapped his hands together and ordered loudly, "Yes, head shopkeeper." The people standing in front nodded in agreement and immediately dispersed from the manor. "The few of you, follow me to take a look at Grand Elder Su. If it wasn't for him this time, we would have been killed by immortal King Xian Jun." Seeing them leave, Song Yuanzhi lifted his foot and left. Chapter 1682. Inside a luxurious room. Su Qian was resting on the bed. Jiang Chen asked Bai Xiaoyun to take care of Bai Fingyu while he rushed over to take care of Su Qian. He saw the fight between Xian Jun and Su Qian yesterday. If it wasn't for the Thousand Harmony Sect's protector, Jiang Chen wouldn't have sat back and watched. "Great Elder, little friend Jiang Chen, Ganji's Bank's head shopkeeper Song Yuanzhi is here." A disciple knocked on the door and said respectfully. Just as he finished speaking, Song Yuanzhi walked in with two of his confidants. Seeing Su Qian lying on the bed, he immediately went forward and half knelt in front of the bed. He said with some self-blame, "Great Elder Su, I really didn't know that the Heavenly Province Bank would invite immortal King Xian Jun to help. If it wasn't for you, we would have already become bones. Now that I see your condition, I feel really sorry. Head shopkeeper, please don't say such things. My injuries aren't even considered injuries. As long as I rest for a period of time, I will recover." Great Elder sat up with Jiang Chen's help and said with a smile, "Little friend Jiang Chen?" Song Yuanzhi nodded. When he stood up, he suddenly saw Jiang Chen standing beside the bed. "Little friend Jiang Chen, you really misunderstood me that day. Head shopkeeper, there's nothing to say between us." Jiang Chen quickly waved his hand and interrupted him. Although he wanted to sell the information of the Black Sect to him at a high price, he also snuck into the manor and secretly saw the information. Bai Xiaoyun even took away a lot of things. Even with Jiang Chen's thick skin, he still felt a little embarrassed. "Alright, since little friend isn't willing to listen, then I won't say anything." Seeing that Jiang Chen was a little impatient, Song Yuanzhi swallowed his words back into his stomach. However, he had to give the information of the Black Sect to Jiang Chen. He could only wait until they left the town before making plans. "Head shopkeeper, your town is already in ruins. Don't waste your time here. My body is fine and I have people from the sect to take care of me." The Great Elder took a deep breath. I'll come again another day." Song Yuanzhi stood up and cupped his hands towards Su Qian before leaving backwards. Su Qian was right. He did have something to do right now, but it wasn't to rebuild the city. Instead, he went to interrogate the people of the Heavenly Province Bank to see why they had such thoughts. He even invited the immortal King Xian Jun over. Somewhere in the manor. This was the second day that Wei Qing and Wei Xiaoqiao had been locked up here. Although the two of them were not restrained, they were under house arrest in this room. Outside the room, there were many people from the Ganges Bank patrolling and guarding. Even when they wanted to go to the toilet, there were 6 or 7 people following behind them. In the secret underground prison. All the experts and followers of the Heavenly Province Bank were locked up here. These people were tied up with ropes as thick as an arm. Within the ropes, there was a faint flow of immortal energy that sealed their strength. Even if these people used all their strength, they would not be able to break free. Crack! The heavy door was pushed open. Song Yuanzhi walked in slowly with two of his subordinates. After he entered, the originally dark secret prison lit up. The people standing on both sides bowed to him in respect. Song Yuanzhi, where is our young master and young miss? If you dare to make a move, even if we die, we will drag you down. Seeing Song Yuanzhi, a dozen people gritted their teeth and questioned loudly. If you have the time to worry about others, why don't you think about your situation? Song Yuanzhi still had a peaceful smile on his face, but anyone could see that under his smile, there was a fierce expression hidden. Bah! The person at the front spat. This spit landed on Song Yuanzhi's shoes embroidered with dragons and phoenixes. Unrepentant! The smile on Song Yuanzhi's face froze. With a wave of his hand, a lot of water gushed out from the dark corner. In the blink of an eye, half of these experts were submerged. The water was not clear. On the contrary, it was very turbid and filled with a pungent smell. In the water, there were constantly black shadows swimming back and forth. When the shadows swept out of the water, they saw that they were poisonous snakes. I advise you to be honest. This water contains the bone-damaging grass I added and the bone-corroding snakes I raised. When you are soaked in water, these little treasures will treat you as the most delicious food. Not only will they eat your flesh, but even your bones and flesh will be swallowed clean by them. At that time, you will see with your own eyes that you will lose your lower body. Standing outside the water, Song Yuanzhi crossed his arms and looked indifferently at the group of people soaked in the water. Everyone says that you, Song Yuanzhi, are dignified and righteous, but now it seems that you are a sinister and vicious villain. The people of the northern region have been deceived by your dog-like appearance. Seeing these bone-corroding snakes, the experts of the Bank of Heaven struggled with all their might. But with the ropes tightly binding them, they could not exert any strength at all. They could only smell the fishy stench and watch the poisonous snakes swimming around their bodies, eager to try. I, Song Yuanzhi, have always been like this. I treat others the way they treat me. Song Yuanzhi did not even blink. How could he be the shopkeeper of the Ganges Bank and let it stand in the northern region, and be called the largest bank in the northern region be a simple person? What the people of the northern region knew was just what he wanted them to know. Despicable! The group of people spat into the water at the same time. If I remember correctly, you should be Wei Qing's personal guard. I think you're called Chen Zhuang. You should know him very well. Tell me, why is your Heavenly Province Bank doing this? If you tell me the truth, I can let you live. Song Yuanzhi squatted down and looked at the most muscular person in the group. Cheng Zhuang raised his head and snorted coldly. Song Yuanzhi, you know that I am the young master's personal guard. If you want to get information from me, you will have to wait until I die. You don't know how to appreciate favors. Being insulted, Song Yuanzhi's face instantly darkened. He took out a small bottle and, with the help of his immortal force, poured a small pool of grayish-green liquid directly onto Qing Zhuang's body. Before Qing Zhuang knew what was happening, the bone-corroding snakes in the water suddenly swam quickly towards him. Ah! A blood-curdling scream resounded. Very soon blood emerged from the puddle of water. Dozens of bone-eroding snakes gathered around him, attacking him. The flesh on his legs and hip bones were bitten off bit by bit. Even though he was a 6th-level immortal venerable, he couldn't withstand the pain. Chapter 1683. Qing Zhuang clenched his teeth in pain and forced himself not to make a sound. However, his groans were even more frightening. The other experts of the Bank of Heaven were trembling in fear. They could accept death, but they couldn't accept dying in this way in the serene prison. Soon, the smell of blood filled the air. Qing Zhuang's lower body had been hollowed out by the bone-eroding snakes. Because of the gray-green liquid, the snakes leaped up and bit Qing Zhuang viciously. they could still hold themselves back. After all, they were in the puddle. Even if they knew what had happened and could smell the blood, they couldn't see it. However, they had clearly seen what the bone corrosion serpent had done. These people couldn't take it anymore and vomited. If anyone wants to show their loyalty to Wei Qing, feel free to tell me. If anyone wants to leave this place, then answer my question. Perhaps I will consider being merciful and let you live. Song Yuanjia took out another bottle, glanced at them, and said indifferently, I'll talk. This time, the rest of the people all shouted at the top of their lungs. While they were talking, Qing Zhuang had already disappeared. Only the piece of rope was left floating on the ground. Let me ask you, why did the Bank of Heaven attack the Ganges Bank? Song Yuanjia smiled in satisfaction. However, his smile was as scary as it could get. Let me tell you! A skinny man standing in front of him said immediately. Head shopkeeper, the situation is like this. The Wei family can no longer control the Bank of Heaven. There are outsiders who want to snatch the Bank of Heaven away from the Wei family. The family's plan is to eat up the Ganges Bank. This way, your voice will fall into our hands. The Wei family can also use this opportunity to regain control of the Bank of Heaven. The man looked at the bone-eroding snakes swimming around him. He was so frightened that his voice trembled. That's it. This answer was beyond his expectations. That's right. He's right. If you don't believe us, you can send someone to ask around. If we lie, we'll be struck by lightning, the others chimed in. So that's how it is. It looks like your Wei clan is no longer qualified to continue managing the Heavenly Province Bank. Song Yuanjia slowly stood up. A thought popped into his mind, and he laughed heartily. Head shopkeeper, we've already told you the truth. Can you let us go? Everyone looked at Song Yuanjia. They didn't want to end up like Qing Zhuang. Get rid of them all. Song Yuanjia wasn't in the mood to pay attention to them. He waved to his subordinates and walked towards the exit. Seeing him leave, the crowd shouted in unison. You killed so many of our Ganges Bank's brothers, and you still want to leave this place alive? You must be dreaming. The subordinate spat. But the head shopkeeper promised us that if we told him the truth, he would let us go. These people's faces were ashen. The head shopkeeper agreed, but we didn't. The subordinate sneered. Shouts constantly rang out from the secret prison. The longer they soaked in the water, the more interested the bone-corroding snake became in them. Finally, an hour after Song Yuanjia left, the bone-corroding snake attacked them. In just a few minutes, the lives of this group of people were completely lost. Whoosh! In the room, the sleeping Wei Qing was suddenly awakened. Large beads of sweat dripped from his forehead. His eyes were filled with fear as he sat on the bed, not knowing what to do. Big brother, what's wrong? Wei Xiaoqiao hurried over. Qing Zhuang is in trouble. Wei Qing was a little dazed. Qing Zhuang and I have cultivated together since we were young, and we have telepathy. He should have died in the hands of those people from the Ganges Bank. Then what should we do? We didn't succeed. Song Yuanjia definitely won't let us go. Wei Xiaoqiao looked worried. She had always been against such actions, but she was only a girl not even 20 years old. Her words carried no weight, and no one in the clan took her seriously. I'm the young master of the Wei clan. Song Yuanjia shouldn't dare to do anything to me. Our lives won't be in danger. Wei Qing took a deep breath. He didn't have much confidence when he said this. He was just comforting himself. Well said. As expected of the young master of the Wei clan. However, what Wei Qing didn't expect was that just as he finished speaking, there was the sound of a slap from outside. Wei Qing was no longer sleepy. He immediately got up from the bed and stared at the door warily. Young master, are you used to living here? Song Yuanjia walked out of the door. He didn't bring anyone with him. With Wei Qing and Wei Xiaoqiao's strength, they weren't a threat to him. Song Yuanjia, what did you do to Qing Zhuang? Wei Qing clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. You mean him? I gave him a chance, but he didn't take it. Song Yuanjia sat on a chair by the door and crossed his legs. Young Master Wei, Do you want to live or stay here forever? What do you mean? I'm the young master of the Wei clan and the young master of the Tianfu Bank. Do you dare to kill me? Wei Qing was shocked by his words. Although his body was trembling from fear, he still stubbornly asked. Of course I don't dare to kill you, but I can keep you here forever. Your Wei clan can no longer fully own the Tianfu Bank. Wouldn't it be a pity if such a good business was taken over by others? Why don't I be kind and take it over for you? Song Yuanzhi laughed. As soon as he said this, Wei Qing immediately sat on the ground. He didn't know how Song Yuanzhi knew about this. Miss Xiaoqiao, take good care of your big brother. Let him eat and drink well here. Otherwise, I'll be a failure as a host. Song Yuanzhi looked at Wei Qing. The next day, after confirming that the first elder's injuries weren't serious, and that he was gradually recovering, Jiang Qin prepared to leave the town. There was no point in staying here any longer. Moreover, Lin Baichao was still waiting for him at the Heaven and Earth Pharmacy. Jiang Qin wanted to see what good things Lin Baichao would give him this time. After receiving news that Jiang Qin was leaving, Song Yuanzhi immediately brought people to the door. He drove everyone out of the inn and had his subordinates guard the door to prevent anyone from entering. Only then did he pat the dust off his clothes and quickly walked in. Although Jiang Qin was sitting in the room, he could sense the situation. You're tuning into the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.